Shalom, 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 Israel. First off, giving all honor and praises to the Most High and to His Son Yahushua, with the battle axes of the Most High, coming to you with another Sabbath breakdown. The name of today's class is Secrets and Mysteries of the Dedication. Secrets and Mysteries of the Dedication. Like we're saying, this is it's always a great Sabbath. We know we're getting ready to go into the Feast of the Dedication. You know, like we always tell brothers and sisters, you want to make sure that you get and understand your heritage, your history, your customs, your traditions, your high holy days. This ain't going into the Christmas spirit. This is going into the spirit of the dedication. So we want to make sure, like we said, we're in the spirit, trying to keep these things, especially for brothers and sisters that are watching online. Shalom to y'all as well. Hey, it's our job to do what? Practice a righteous rehearsal. You have brothers and sisters or camps that's telling you not to keep the high holy days. Brothers and sisters are out of the spirit, man, totally. First precept we always start out with, man. Judges chapter 5, verse 11. Especially when doing God's high holy days, because we want to brainwash it and stitch it into the minds of our people. What'd you say, Brother Judah? They said what? One that we always start out with, man, to tear down these strongholds, man. We're literally trying to tear these things down off of our people, man, using the scriptures and using the spirit of Yahweh and His Son Yahushua, man. When you get there, read this out.
The book of Judges, chapter 5, verse 11. They that are delivered from the noise of archers in the places of drawing water.
Delivered from thermonuclear fire in the places of drawing water is servitude. That's over here. Because there's various precepts that are showing you that the Most High God is going to use other Edomites to destroy this place, man. Read on.
There shall they rehearse the righteous acts of the Lord.
The righteous acts of the Lord is going into what? Keeping God's commandments. Keeping His high holy days. Staying in the spirit. Casting off all false traditions. Casting off all false strongholds that have our people taken and swayed. Read on.
Even the righteous act toward the inhabitants of His villages in Israel.
In what?
In Israel.
Give me 1 Kings chapter 8 and verse 46.
Book of 1 Kings, chapter 8, verse 46. If they sin against thee, for there is no man that sinneth not.
Meaning what? Once upon a time, before we got the knowledge of this truth, hey, we were in sin. Read on up.
And thou be angry with them.
And the Most High God, when we sin, the Most High God gets angry with us. You know, I know a lot of times we hear it all the time, God is all love. You won't get that out of the God of the Bible. He has love for us. But a lot of times, guess what? He gets angry, especially when we sin or break His commandments. Read on out.
And deliver them to the enemy.
And a lot of times people don't understand God is the one that's delivering us to the enemy. Whether it's a physical enemy like Esau and the other nations, or a spiritual enemy where the brothers can't stop dealing with lust or order or drugs or any manner of wickedness. Read on.
So that they carried them away captive.
So that they carried them away captive. That's the punishment for breaking God's commandments. It is a judgment and a punishment to be had when you go against the Most High God, man. Read on.
Unto the land of the enemy.
Far
or near.
And this is the land of our enemies in a far captivity. Captivities normally was over there, what they would call the so-called Middle East. You have Assyria, which is rarely close to the land of Israel. You have Egypt, which is rarely close to the land of Israel. Over here in the Americas is a far captivity. Even during this time, the Most High God put on King Solomon to prophesy about the things that we will be doing. Breaking His commandments, going into a far captivity. Celebrating Christmas, celebrating Easter, celebrating Thanksgiving. Read on up.
If they, that's like, yet if they shall bethink themselves.
But think means to remember. If we remember who we are, remember our traditions, remember our dress codes, remember the foods that we ate, the customs and traditions that we celebrated. Read on.
In the land, whether they were carried captive.
So, and this is the land where we was carried captive. Even precepting with what? Judges chapter 5, verse 11. Right. Doing the righteous acts of the Lord's over here in this captivity, man. What better way to put on a spectacle to the other nations, man, and showing them that, guess what? They no longer have a stronghold on our people, man. By what? Letting our light shine, man. Even going into the Feast of the Dedication. Like I say, it's another term for the dedication. It's going into what? The Feast of Lights. Who is that ultimate light? Christ is that ultimate light. Lights going back also to what? Keeping the commandments. Letting your light shine before men. Read on up.
And repent.
And do what?
And repent.
And repent, meaning to what? Acknowledge the wrongdoings and the sins that you have committed against the Most High God and change. You change and you are converted by what? Keeping the commandments. Read on.
And make supplication unto thee
in
the land of them that carried them captive, saying.
And also, how do we make supplication? By what? Keeping the commandments. What better way, man, than to ask for forgiveness than putting on, guess what? The law, statutes, and commandments. All of them. What falls upon the law, statutes, and commandments? Guess what? God's high holy days. Read on.
Saying, we have sinned, and we have done perversely. We have committed wickedness.
And our people have done perversely and committed wickedness. And we always bring up, I know, brothers and sisters, knowing the person that you used to be in the world, minus the person that you're trying to be in the truth, guess what? You should always be trying to kill that person daily, man. Just think about the type of spirits that we had on us before we got the knowledge of this truth, man. Think about it. Read on.
And so return unto thee with all their heart.
No, with some of their hearts.
With all their heart.
Read on.
And with all their soul.
Read on.
In the land of their enemy.
Read on.
Which led them away captive. And pray unto thee toward their land, which thou gavest unto their fathers, the city which thou hast chosen, and the house which I have built for thy name.
Give me 1 Maccabees chapter 2 and verse 48. Make sure brothers and sisters are taking good notes. I know brothers have been bringing out class, particularly touching on this subject. We pray brothers and sisters are watching these classes, building up in their spirits, understanding what the dedication is all about. Really kind of getting into it. Really getting into the spirit of the dedication, man. Not just now since it's at the heat of it now. But hey, you always want to be preparing for these things. You got some up? Yeah, 1 Maccabees chapter 2 and verse 49.
The book of 1 Maccabees, chapter 2, verse 49. Now when the time drew near that Mattathias should die, he said unto his sons.
Hold up. Who is Mattathias? Any brother?
Father of Maccabees.
The father of the Maccabees. Brother Judah, what tribe was Mattathias from? Brothers, don't be taking good notes.
Levi.
Thank you, Brother Judah. I didn't know this brother Gabor changed his name. Brother changed his name. Call this brother Judah Gabor. Thank you, Judah Gabor. By Shimmy Yahweh. Thank you, brother. Yes, he is a Levite. Write that down, Brother Judah King. Write that thing down. He was a Levite. So Judah's Maccabees were of the, and his brethren were of the tribe of what? Levi. Thank you, Brother Judah King. Brothers on one today, ain't they, man? Read that again from the top out.
Verse 49 from the top. Now when the time drew near that Mattathias should die, he said unto his sons, now hath pride and rebuke gotten strength in the time of destruction.
And hey, listen to that thing. Now pride and rebuke had gotten strength. Meaning what? Going into the Romans, even of some of our people that, guess what? Get that pride on. When they can't take correction. Guess what? The Most High God, the truth is all about rebuking pride and correction, period. If you can't get corrected in the truth, what the hell are you in the truth for?
That's right.
You know, truth comes, guess what? From leaders all the way down to little children, man. And brothers and sisters cannot be in their feelings when you are doing something wrong, man. Like I said, that's one of my pet peeves that I know brothers and sisters going to know about. Like I said, if you are doing it, don't try to blame other brothers and sisters for what you have done. Take the correction, grow from it, meaning what? Don't deal in that particular downfall anymore, and grow from those particular things. Read on up.
In the time of destruction and the wrath of indignation.
Because what? It's going into the Greeks coming in, taking over, and destroying our nation of people. We have to understand secular history as well, brothers and sisters, man, because guess what? Bible history is world history. You know, a lot of times, hey, this is not the Christian church where you get a song and a dance and a hymn. Give me my tithes and get out. No, you're literally going to learn history according to the Bible, man. Read on.
Now, therefore, my sons, be ye zealous for the law.
And that's what he was giving them, giving what? Giving them a charge, like we charge to brothers and sisters and to ourselves. Be zealous for the law, meaning go all out to keep God's laws, statutes, and commandments, man. Wearing your fringes at work. Letting brothers and sisters know about this truth. Checking your spirit, watching your conversations when you out in public. Because even like brothers always bring out, being an Israelite is just not on the Sabbath day. Being an Israelite is every day. Right. Being an Israelite is an Israelite at your job, when you're around your family. A lot of times, brothers and sisters, they don't want to tell them about the truth. They want to hide their light, tuck your fringes in and so forth. Not pushing it and not being zealous. Read on.
And give your lives for the covenant of your fathers.
And guess what? If you have to, give your lives for the covenant of our fathers. Meaning what? The agreements that the Most High God made with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. You got some? Read on.
Call to remembrance what acts our fathers did in their time.
And this is the point that we want to get to. Read that again from the top.
Call to remembrance what acts our fathers did in their time.
It says call to remembrance. How do you call to remembrance? By going through the scriptures. You don't read about our forefathers celebrating Christmas. You don't read about them celebrating Thanksgiving, celebrating their birthdays, celebrating anniversaries. You don't see them doing none of these things. So when you go into the book of Leviticus, when you go into the book of John chapter 22, when you go into 1 Maccabees chapter 4 and verse 56 on down, we see what our people were putting on our spirit to remember. No, before brothers and sisters got in the truth, we used to always see Hanukkah, but we really didn't know what the hell it meant. You see them like, damn. Then you seeing them up there with the damn 9-pointed candlestick. Now you understand, like, all these things that we have been taught are straight lies. All the way down to the 9 candlestick. That's not a damn manure, man. That's damn deer antlers or something. I don't know where they get that stuff from, man. It is not lining up with the Bible. Those are clear indicators that those are not the real people of the Bible. Read on up. Start from the top again.
Yeah. Call to remembrance what acts our fathers did in their time. So shall ye receive great honor and an everlasting name.
So we call to remembrance the things that our forefathers did. That's how we get great honor. And I know a lot of times honor is a good thing, meaning you're what? You're honest. You have integrity. You a stand-up brother and a stand-up sister. It says, and an everlasting name. That everlasting name is doing what? Going into the kingdom. Because ultimately, that's what each and every brother that's in this class and tuning in should be striving for. The ultimate goal is to make it to the kingdom, man. To show the Most High God. Everybody just look at them.
Every time
brothers on fire today. And then can't even cut it off. We're just going to stir it, Brother Fred. Yeah, brothers and sisters on the cap is Brother Fred.
That's my law.
Oh, we know that. Yeah, we know that, brother. Brother said, that's my alarm. Really?
wow, like wow. What else you got to do with that? We're going late in the month. Half the day gone.
Like we said, one of the names of the dedication is going into Hanukkah, but another name is going into the Feast of Lights. And even on a spiritual note, you got something? Go ahead.
Just like what I was touching on, y'all got to think on how our forefathers would. To go to dedicate something for the Most High God, you got to fight for it. Mm-hmm. It ain't no easy, it ain't no just sit down. And Mattathias understood it. That's why he left the charge to his children. Mm-hmm. Just like even Jump over to verse 32 right quick, because what the heathens were trying to do, what the Greeks were trying to do, they was trying to fight and war against us on the Sabbath day. And this is the reason why we go out and fight on the Sabbath day on the spiritual level too, because this right here covers it. So what they was trying to do was fight against the children of Israel on Sabbath day, but they knew that we was at rest. So they had to make a decree. They had to make they had to come up like, hey, you know what, Lord, these people gonna keep on killing us on the Sabbath day because they know we at rest, right? So Mattathias had to take charge so we wouldn't be killed off, right? Read verse 32, right?
The book of 1 Maccabees, chapter 2, verse 32. They pursued after them, a great number, and having overtaken them, they camped against them and made war against them on the Sabbath day.
Because they made war against us on the Sabbath day, right? That's what the other nation was doing. Jump down to verse 39.
Verse 39. Now when Mattathias and his friends understood hereof, they mourned for them right sore.
Because they was mourning sore because guess what? They kept coming in on the Sabbath, they killing us, right? But read on.
And one of them said to another, if we all do as our brethren have done, and fight not for our lives and laws against the heathen, they will now quickly root us out of the earth.
So they had to make a decision. Like, look, if we don't fight for our laws, statutes, and commandments, we don't fight for our God, guess what? They're going to root us out of this thing, man. Right? Read.
At that time, therefore, they decreed, saying, whosoever shall come to make battle with us on the Sabbath day,
read,
we will fight against him.
He said we're going to fight against them, man. Read.
Neither will we die off as our brethren that were murdered in the secret places.
Because guess what? And it goes back into the secret place, it goes back into our rest. When we was back resting and we was chilling and relaxing, these people would come search us out, find us, and kill us because they know we couldn't battle on the Sabbath. So now, this gives us a clear understanding why we go out and we battle on the Sabbath day. Guess what? Because it's not just a Esau, we know you watching, it's a spiritual battle.
That's right.
So now we spiritually battling on the Sabbath day, right?
And guess what? I'm glad that I brought that up, man, to even touch on that spiritual battle. When brothers and sisters making a decision whether or not to, guess what, come to Sabbath class, that's a spiritual battle, man. You know, making excuses, I ain't got this, I ain't got that. You know, literally making whole excuses to, guess what, not come to the Sabbath. And our people even during this time, like I said, we had to physically fight to keep the Sabbath day. Now we can keep it freely, and our people still don't want to do it, man. You know, those are spiritual battles, even on that level, that brothers and sisters have to fight Sabbath in and Sabbath out. It's not a coincidence that husbands and wives argue the most probably on the Sabbath day.
That's right.
Where brothers and sisters have that spirit that's constantly trying to pull them away from the truth. Where children don't want to get up. You battling with them up in there, boy, you better get up. Yeah, you better get up. It's going to be that spiritual battle that, guess what, that comes with this. You got some out?
Yeah, going into read 51 again, because that's exactly what I go into fight, because it's not going to be peachy cream either, man.
That's right.
When we're trying to dedicate ourselves, like we said, our lives is a dedication right now. It's tough out here in this world, man. Trying to fight that old man, trying to fight that old woman, seeing all the conditions of the battles that we have to go through, that we have to filter out, right? Taking away the old man or the thoughts that we had and trying to bring ourselves into Israelite thoughts, right? Read 51 up.
Verse 51, call to remembrance what acts our fathers did in their time. So shall ye receive great honor and an everlasting name.
Man, that's heavy, brother and sister. Every time you're going through something, man, call and remembrance the things that our forefathers went through, man. Some acts were way tougher than what we even intending to go through right now.
That's right.
Right? Read 51. We're going and 52 is going to give you a couple acts. Read on.
Was not Abraham fall faithful in temptation?
He was found faithful in what?
In temptation.
In his temptation. What was Abraham tempted on at that time? Finna give up his son, man, right? But through the temptation, he was found faithful through that thing. It's going to be some tough times, brothers and sisters. And these are the times you really go out to dedicate yourself and dedicate your temple, your life, man. That's when the Most High wants to use you the most. Read 53.
And it was inputted unto him for righteousness. Joseph, in the time of his distress.
What was happening in the time of Joseph's distress, man? In prison, man.
Sold to slavery.
Sold into slavery and in prison. Both of those acts, that's right. And what did Joseph do, man? Read on.
In the time of his distress, kept the commandment. And was made Lord of Egypt.
So things are not going to be peachy, cream, and easy. That's why when you get to your feast days, what the Lord tell you to come with what? joyfulness and gladness. Because throughout that other time that you was getting ready for it, it was some situations that occurred, man.
Right.
It was some things that happened that had you like, damn, man, this happened, that happened. But now the Lord said, you done made it to it now. This is what you're doing. So now, remember what your forefathers went through, man, and rehearse the same act so that you can dedicate yourself as well. It ain't going to be easy sometimes, brothers and sisters. But we got to make sure that we remember our forefathers. Go back into the Bible and read. Into the Bible and read, man. Go ahead.
Let's go to, well, if I heard one more phone. Well, flip out.
Hey, brothers and sisters, phones on silent, man. If y'all ain't did it now, check your phone. Everybody check your phone, man. You might have thought you did. Check your phone, man.
Go to the book of 2 Timothy chapter 2 and verse 3. Because even like the brothers are bringing out, hey, it's a fight, man. It's a fight, man. We have to fight it on the spiritual level, mental level. You get there, read this,
The book of 2 Timothy, chapter 2, verse 3.
Uh-huh.
Thou, therefore, endure hardness.
That's what the Most High God was commanding us to do, what? Endure hardness. Meaning what? Trials and tribulations. Things may come up. Things that you're not even thinking that you're not prepared to deal with. That's what the Most High God puts brothers and sisters amongst a congregation. So we can bear the weight of those burdens a lot of times. A lot of times when brothers and sisters are not applying those things, they end up bearing it all by themselves, not utilizing the scriptures. Read on.
Thou, therefore, endure hardness as a good soldier.
As a what?
As a good soldier.
Read on.
Of Yahushua.
Of who?
Of Yahushua.
And of Yahushua. Read on out.
No man that warreth, entangling himself with the affairs of this life.
Understanding what's going on, that there's going to be spirits out here. You don't entangle your affairs. You don't be entangled by the cares of this world, man. We understand these things are going to go how they're going to go. And it is what it is. We understand we're going to go through hardships. Hey, losing family members. Hey, maybe financial situations, emotional situations. But guess what? Each problem has what? Has a solution to it. And I know a lot of times brothers and sisters want to lean to their own understanding and deal with it in their way. That's why those problems are a lot of times being multiplied, man. They're multiplied to the extreme, to the second power, man. Because you're trying to deal with it your way and not utilizing the way that the Most High God has given you, man, to make it easier. Read on up.
That he may please him who have chosen him to be a soldier.
Give me John chapter 8 and verse 12, because like we're going into, we know that another name for the dedication is Hanukkah, also going into the Feast of Lights. You know, we know who that ultimate light is. You know, Christ is all these things on a spiritual level. Even with the manure does what it gives life. Christ came into the world to give us life. We know in the temple is also, you got the altar of burnt offerings to make atonement for sins. Guess what? Christ is the ultimate sacrifice. All those things on a deeper and spiritual level, and the secrets of the Most High God goes into Christ. Get that, read this out.
The book of St. John, chapter 8, verse 12. Then spake Yahushua again unto them, saying, I am the light of the world.
He is the what?
I am the light of the world.
Christ is the light of the world. What is that light going into for new brothers and sisters? Let's go to Proverbs 6 and 23. Is it literally talking about the sun giving its light? Let's see what the Bible says. As a pastor, take that and just run with it, not really breaking it down to give the understanding. Let's see what that light is. Let's see what Christ came to do. Read this out.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 6, verse 23. For the commandment is a lamp, and the law is light.
And the law is what?
And the law is light.
So that light that Christ came to show was the law. Meaning what? A perfect understanding of the law during that time. Read on.
And reproofs of instruction are the way of life.
And reproof meaning correction. That is the way of life, brothers and sisters. Because like we said, before this truth, we didn't know how to properly worship the Most High God. A lot of times we still don't coming into this truth, especially for new brothers and new sisters in this thing. That's why it's pivotal that you constantly seek out counsel while applying the scriptures. Let's go back to John chapter 8, verse 12.
The book of St. John, chapter 8, verse 12 from the top. Then spake Yahushua again unto them, saying, I am the light of the world.
Now, who is that world that it's talking about? Israel. What precept do brothers have?
Isaiah 45 and 17.
Let's get that. All praise, Ox. Isaiah 45 and 17. Christ came to be that light. Even with us getting understanding of the scriptures, even going into the book of Daniel, chapter 9, understanding the desolation, abomination of desolation. Thanks, Ox. Read this, Ox.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 45, verse 17. But Israel shall be saved in the Lord with an everlasting salvation.
Hold up. Let brothers, I know we got new brothers and new sisters in here. Like I say, over a period of time, if brothers are really taking the time, if sisters are really taking the time to read, you will see yourself improving and getting faster to the scriptures. You know, it'll just be like, just natural to you. You know, these things take time. This is also practicing a righteous rehearsal. You getting more and more familiar with your Bible. Read that again from the top, book, chapter, and verse.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 45, verse 17. But Israel shall be saved in the Lord with an everlasting salvation. Ye shall not be ashamed nor confounded. World without end.
Israel is that world that Christ came to bring light into. Came to give us a better understanding about keeping the commandments. Let's go back to John chapter 8, verse 12.
Book of St. John, chapter 8, verse 12. Then spake Yahushua again unto them, saying, I am the light of the world. He that followeth me shall not walk in darkness, but shall have the light of life.
So we know Christ did what? He kept the commandments. Christ is letting us know if we follow him and him what? Keeping the commandments. Guess what? We won't be in darkness. Darkness is a similar tool for what? For sin. Is that it on that? Let's show brothers and sisters what we should follow Christ doing. Give me John chapter 10, verse 22.
Book of St. John, chapter 10, verse 22. And it was at Jerusalem, the feast of dedication, and it was winter. And Yahushua walked in the temple in Solomon's porch.
And who?
In Solomon's porch.
So if we're to be followers of Christ, we see nowhere where Christ kept Christmas. We see where Christ did what? He kept the dedication. So we know in dedication is in what? In the wintertime. It's giving us a season. We know in winter is what? From December to January to February. 3 months out of those years. So we know we're celebrating it from what? From December the 18th all the way really to December the 26th or 25th. Like I said, this is what we're getting ready to go into basically tonight. Officially tomorrow when brothers and sisters come back to the building. Like I said, putting back on our beautiful garments. Putting back on our royalty. You know, it's pivotal that we see our people in that light and not seeing each other in tights and so forth and booty shorts, but literally seeing a sister that has herself made up to look like a princess. Brothers looking like kings and princes. Image is everything. And don't let people tell you that it's not, man. Your image, the way people see you, the way they perceive you, guess what? Those things are everything. Your reputation. We're trying to set up a reputation. That's what the Most High God is trying to set up in Israel, man. A good reputation of us being what? Men and women of renown. Known for our beauty and known for what? Good conversations. Known for what? Putting on the law, statutes, and commandments. Being that light to the world as well. You got some up? Give me... Let's go to 1 Maccabees chapter 4 and verse 59. Now, Salah, give me 1 Maccabees chapter 3 and verse 43. Salah. But y'all know how we do. I really kind of want to read most of it. Because I know, I'm going to tell you, not these brothers and sisters in battle axes. I know brothers and sisters done read this thing. But just in case they haven't, you know, I know we love to try to cover a lot of these things, man. 1 Maccabees chapter 3 and verse 43. You get there, read that up.
The book of 1 Maccabees, chapter 3, verse 43. They said one to another, let us restore the decayed estate of our people.
And that's what we do when we partake in keeping God's laws, statutes, and commandments. We're trying to restore the decayed estate of our people, man. We see our people, don't know right from left, don't know who they are, what purpose is that the Most High God has for them, on how to properly worship the Most High God and literally make it to the kingdom. A lot of people don't know, even in the truth, don't know. We shouldn't be celebrating Christmas, man. Shouldn't be celebrating birthdays. We say, I pray that Brother Mike is listening from last week, man. Brother, don't give in to your family, boy. You know you'll steady shoot shots, man. Don't do it. I'm telling you, do not do that thing, man. We're trying to put off that decayed estate, man. Like I said, if brothers and sisters are not teaching their wives and their children the lies about Christmas, you're just going to keep perpetuating the lies. And then it makes it harder and harder for you to be able to do what? Break those cycles. You're just putting it off from day to day. The Most High God said, don't do that, man, because you never know. He could act. He could blow your candle out at any time. Read that again from the top.
They said one to another, let us restore the decayed estate of our people. And let us fight for our people and the sanctuary.
And let us fight for our people and the sanctuary. That's what we're doing right now as we partake in keeping these commandments. We're fighting for our people to show them a good example. Letting our people know that we're not deadbeat dads. That sisters are more than just black sisters and Latino sisters with attitudes. That can't dress according to royalty. That eat and say any manner of wickedness. We're more than just those things that we have been stereotyped to be, man. So that's what we must do in this. Even precepting with what Captain Jeroboam brought out and what Captain Yara brought out. It's a fight. It's a continual fight, brothers and sisters. Jump over to Maccabees chapter 4 and verse 1. Kind of get into this history.
The book of 1 Maccabees chapter 4, verse 1. Then took Georgias, 5,000 footmen and 1,000 of the best horsemen, and removed out of the camp by night.
So you have Georgias and Lysias. They were some of the top generals of Antiochus Epiphanes. So I know a lot of times Antiochus Epiphanes was a Greek ruler. Like I said, when you get into understanding the Bible, you want to make sure that you get into understanding history as well. A lot of times they have these things on the History Channel. So you learn to filter those things through the scriptures. Even in the book of Josephus, it talks about it. Read that again from the top up.
Then took Georgias 5,000 footmen and 1,000 of the best horsemen, and removed out of the camp by night, to the end he might rush in upon the camp of the Jews, and smite them suddenly. And the men of the fortress were his gods.
Were his what?
Were his gods.
So we see, even in, like we say, the book of Josephus, I would say, even with historical books, a lot of these things line up, but like we say, we don't take everything that Josephus says. Josephus was an Israelite. You know, when you go and do the research. Even when we flip, this is Jewish Antiquities, page 406, book 12, chapter 6, verse 1. Well, I'll start at chapter 7. It says, how Judas overthrew the forces of Apollonius and Saron and killed the generals of their armies themselves, and how when a little afterwards Lysias and Georgias were beaten, he went up to the temple and purified he went up to Jerusalem, Salakia, and purified the temple. So a lot of times, even when brothers get into being historians and so forth, you learn to do what? Start cross-referencing reference or whatnot. Meaning when we say cross-reference, you're going to another book to guess what? To bring validity or more validity to the Bible. So literally reading out the Bible, then you're reading out multiple books saying the same thing that the Bible is saying. And that's even out of the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses. Because we make mention that Esau, he knows our history. He knows our history more than we know our history. You know, so a lot of times, even when they're talking about Hanukkah, they never go into the history on these things. That's why the Most High God puts it on our spirit to go into the history to see what things that we did during that time to what? To be able to establish and understand the hardships that it took to guess what? Celebrate these things. It's no hardship in Christmas. Those things don't do nothing but bring unnecessary burdens. And Christmas on this hand is white supremacy. Thinking that a white man is bringing black and Latino children gifts that your mom worked hard as hell, your dad worked hard as hell for. They not thinking that you did it, they thinking that Santa did it, man. We have to stomp those lies out, man. Go back to 1 Maccabees chapter 4 and verse 3.
Book of 1 Maccabees chapter 4 verse 3. Now when Judas heard thereof, he himself removed and the valiant man with him, that he might smite the king's army, which was at Emmaus. While as yet the forces were dispersed from the camp in the mean season.
The mean season is going into what? The winter. Because winter can be mean. Especially when brothers are out there teaching. Making your bodies a living sacrifice. It's cold. Fingertips cold. You got to flip the pages. You have to read. Hey. Just even more so even in battle. Read on up.
In the mean season came Georgias by night into the camp of Judas.
That's even why Christ said, pray that our flight be not in the winter. Meaning what? When Jacob's trouble hit, we pray that it's not in the winter because it's going to be, we know a lot of people can die during those seasons, man. A lot of people. Christ was constantly warning us about these things. Go ahead, Go ahead. Read on.
And when he found no man there, he sought them in the mountains. For said he, these fellows flee from us.
Read on.
But as soon as it was day, Judas showed himself in the plain with 3,000 men, who nevertheless had neither armor nor swords to their mind.
Read on.
And they saw the camp of the heathen, that it was strong.
That it was what?
That it was strong.
Read on.
And well harnessed, and compassed round about with horsemen. And these were expert of war. Then said Judas to the men that were with him, fear ye not their multitude.
Hold up. And it said, because we know a lot of times that fear spirit jumps on brothers because they see brothers with more numbers, or they see the enemy with more numbers. Hey, we got the Most High God on our side, man. That's why the Most High God is telling brothers and sisters, even when you're in this fight, hey, don't be fearful in this fight. And if brothers do have that fear spirit, it's all right to tell leadership, man. We just send you home till you get your spirit right, man. There's nothing wrong with those things. The Most High God has it to where, guess what? The fight is going to continue, man. Jump over to 1 Maccabees chapter 3 and verse 17.
Book of 1 Maccabees chapter 3, verse 17.
Because Maccabees was always doing what? Encouraging brothers to what? Stand bold on the Most High God and our laws, statutes, and commandments. 1 Maccabees chapter 3 and verse 17.
Who, when they saw the host coming to meet them, said unto Judas, how shall we be able, being so few,
being so what?
Being so few,
read on up,
to fight against so great a multitude, and so strong.
And so what?
And so strong.
And a lot of times that's why brothers don't want to go out there on the streets. They scared to prophesy amongst Esau. They scared to prophesy amongst the other nations. They're scared of those things, man. Want to be just individual lights. Same type of spirit that some of our brothers and sisters had during this time of the Maccabees. Read on.
And so strong, seeing we are ready to faint with fasting all this day. Unto whom Judas answered, it is no hard matter for many to be shut up in the hands of a few.
Read on now.
And with the God of heaven, it is at all one to deliver with a great multitude or a small company.
Hey, it's not a hard thing for the Most High God to deliver us from a multitude of people with just a few people. That's literally showing the power that the Most High God had. What good is it Most High God sent us to battle out there 10,000 versus 10,000? Right. No, the Most High God, no, take that 10,000 down to 300 and watch me turn their behinds up. And that's literally showing you the power of our God. Like we say, even coming from 1 or 2 brothers and sisters to 3 or 4 brothers and sisters to even to where we are now. Still particularly small congregation. But guess what? Brothers go out there and raise hell, man. Raise hell in the name of Yahweh and his son Yahushua, man. Right. And brothers got to have that mindset. Guess what? When we partaking in keeping these high holy days, yeah, it's just going to be you and only you at the job. Everybody else doing Christmas. Sister, what's going on? Why you ain't keeping Christmas? No, I don't do those things. You know, brother, why you not keeping Christmas? No, I don't do those things. You have to understand that it's going to be like that. The Most High God is literally going to see, or you're going to hold it or fold it, man. If you hold it, the Most High God fights on our behalf, man. Go ahead, up. Read on.
Verse 19, for the victory of battle standeth not in the multitude of an host, but strength cometh from heaven.
But strength coming from who?
But strength cometh from heaven.
And that's one thing that we always got to remember, brothers and sisters, man, when we going through financial hard times. If you're doing what you're supposed to do, like we say, we always say it's a fine line between chastisement and judgment. Chastisement is for the Most High God to build us up, but judgment is doing for something your ass done did wrong. But only a lot of times, only you know that.
Right.
Only you know if you're being chastised or judged. You can't play the games with it. Go ahead, up. Read on.
Verse 20, they come against us in much pride.
And what?
In much pride.
Even just like these other nations, Amalek, they come to us with much pride. Read on.
In iniquity, to destroy us.
Uh-huh.
And our wives and children, and to spoil us.
Read on, up.
But we fight for our lives and our laws.
And that's the mindset that brothers and sisters must have. We are fighting for our lives and our laws, man. Because we know ultimately if we are keeping the law, the Most High God is the one that's fighting the battle for us, man. But brothers got to be keeping the law. Sisters got to be keeping the law. Brothers have to be guiding their wives, man. It's no way around it. You have to be teaching them according to knowledge. You're using your own words. That is not the way to go. That's why we always tell brothers and sisters, make sure y'all seek out counsel before y'all move towards that particular type of thing, for lack of better words. So guess what? You can be grounded and understand what your role is. Being married is more than just about having sex. You know, it's a part of it, but it's your job to literally teach and guide your wives. Like I said, if brothers are not built up, we put those things forward. Brothers been the truth, not for a long number of years, don't understand what a marriage precepts are. Sisters don't understand their role. A lot of times, that is not, y'all not ready for marriage. We have to just put those things forward, man. Let's go back.
Read verse 12, read verse 22.
Bring it up.
Verse 22.
That's the home in your point, man. Go ahead.
Wherefore the Lord himself will overthrow them before our face.
That's right.
And as for you, be ye not afraid of them.
Uh-huh. That's a great point. Read verse 22 again up.
Wherefore the Lord himself will overthrow them before our face. And as for you, be ye not afraid of them.
So the Most High God is commanding us. What precept is that?
Timothy 1.
All praise, man. Brothers in the spirit. Like we said, like we're trying to get brothers in that mindset, man. When precepts is coming out, even like how we constantly go over and count 1-on-1, we need battle axe brothers to be ready to do what? Add up to that precept, man. Because it's going to be that same fight when we go out there, man. That's the Most High God proving us to see if we can work as one unit, man. Literally as one mind, man. Let's go back to the book of 1 Maccabees chapter 4 in verse 8. Thanks, sir.
Book of 1 Maccabees, chapter 4, verse 8.
Uh-huh.
Then said Judas to the men that were with him, Fear ye not their multitude.
He's telling them, fear ye not their multitude. Read on.
Neither be ye afraid of their assault.
Read on.
Remember how our fathers were delivered in the Red Sea.
So what do Maccabees do? He started running down what? The history. That's one thing that we always must do when we come through trials and tribulations. Run down the history of what foremothers did in their time, what forefathers did in their time. Read on out.
Remember how our fathers were delivered in the Red Sea.
So he's showing you, meaning when what? When the Israelites had their backs, you had the Red Sea and you had Pharaoh. Backs to the water. Read on up.
Hold on. Let me ask y'all a question. When he said run down the history, what does that mean? He just basically quoting the Bible. That's all running down the history, because guess what? He's saying what Moses what Moses wrote already. So he's reading the Bible back to the people. So when you're running down history, that means he's quoting the Bible. Right?
Read on up.
When Pharaoh pursued them with an army Now therefore let us cry unto heaven, if peradventure the Lord will have mercy upon us, and remember the covenant of our fathers, and destroy this host before our face this day.
Read on up.
That so all the heathen may know that there is one who delivered and saved Israel.
So we have to understand those things. There is one who delivered and one that saved Israel. So I know even with an Old Testament Israelite, we have to always attack these things on multiple fronts. Remember, the Most High God is what? The ultimate Savior. But we know that He's always have what? Sent other Saviors on a physical level. You thinking the Most High God is going to get up off His throne? Wait a minute, Gabriel. Hold up, Michael. Let me go down here and take care of this thing first. Man, He is a king. He is a God. He has people and the spirits do His bidding, man. You don't have to move a pinky, man. That's just asinine to even just think of that, man. Read on up.
Verse 12. Then the strangers lifted up their eyes and saw them coming over against them.
Read on.
Wherefore they went out of the camp to battle. But they that were with Judas sounded their trumpet.
They did what?
Sounded their trumpet.
Because we always sound the trumpet before what? Before war. Even going into the class that we did over the memorial blowing the trumpets. Understanding why the trumpets are blown in certain times. For war, to give a warning, to gather in the congregation, to anoint kings, to disassemble the congregation. Like we say, all these classes that brothers bring forth, a lot of times you have to put these things together and understand the situation on a heavier note. Read on.
So they joined battle, and the heathen, being discomfited, fled into the plain.
Being discomforted, meaning what? They was destroyed. Yeah, many of them, a little of us. And the Most High God did what? Took them down, man. Read on up.
Howbeit, all the hindmost of them were slain with the sword.
Or what?
Were slain with the sword.
And I'm going to tell you, man, make no mistake, man. The heathen are our enemies, man. We can't be playing the game, gathering in amongst them. We got to stop playing the game. That's how they destroyed many of our people during these times. Let's go to the book of Nehemiah. We must get these things. Nehemiah chapter 5 and verse 9. Because the word heathen means what? Any nation outside of the Israelites. That's what the word heathen means. So when you're seeing these things, the Most High God is basically talking about what? The other nations. The kingdom was not promised to the other nations, to the heathens, to the dogs, to the Gentiles, the real Gentiles. Read this,
The book of Nehemiah, chapter 5, verse 9. Also I said, it is not good that ye do. Ought ye not to walk in the fear of the Lord, of our God, but because of the reproach of the heathen, our enemies.
Our who?
Our enemies.
Read that again. Nehemiah chapter 5 and verse 9.
Nehemiah chapter 5 verse 9. Also I said, it is not good that ye do. Ought ye not to walk in the fear of our God, because of the reproach of the heathen, our enemies.
Our who?
Our enemies.
Now, any brother, who was the enemy during this time? During the time of Nehemiah? Who was the enemy? Who? I don't know. Am I? That's what I'm asking y'all. Persian and Medes. Yes. You want that answer to be definite. Like you know what you're talking about. Like we say, Ezra and Nehemiah are contemporaries, meaning they walked in the same time. So the Persian and the Medes were their enemies during this time, and other nations as well. Really all nations, going into the Arabians as well, when you read on down. But we see that they have always been what? Our enemies. Yes, let's go back. Make sure brothers write footnotes. Like we said, we'll slow it down. Brothers just be in the spirit and just kind of just flow through these things. We'll try to slow it down so brothers can write these things in their Bible. I'm going to tell you, it really helps if you write it in there. You know, certain precepts.
And also, like y'all saying, like I had it highlighted, but you can write them key words beside it, enemies. Like those things help you out with your notes too.
The book of 1 Maccabees, chapter 4, verse 15. Howbeit, all the hindmost of them were slain with the sword, for they pursued them unto Gazer, and unto the plains of Idumea.
Idumea is what? Edom, the Greek and Roman word for Edom. Read on.
And Azotus, and Jamina, so that there were slain of them upon 3,000 men.
So we're literally saying that Judas Maccabees and them killed about who? 3,000 men. So they're literally at war, doing what? Fighting for their lives and to keep God's laws, statutes, and commandments. We can't miss that thought. That's what the dedication is about. Them dedicating their lives to fighting for keeping God's laws and his statutes and for their lives as well, man. Like we say, even taking it on a spiritual battle. Us fighting daily. You know, for a brother that's in the truth, for his wife that's not in the truth, or vice versa. Whether it's at the job or dealing with wicked family members that, guess what, that just don't want to let up. That just can't understand that, guess what, you're trying to serve the Most High God and keep his commandments. That's the next level battle that brothers and sisters battle on, even on the spiritual level. Read on.
This done, Judas returned again with his host from pursuing them.
From what?
From pursuing them.
Because when you read Maccabees, you constantly see that they did what? They constantly were fighting, man. Even like us, they're constantly battling. This is a never-ending battle. Like we said, if you get tired in this thing, hey, this might not be the fight for you. Because it's a never-ending battle, man. Even when you're taking your guards off, hey, something comes up. You can just imagine the captain's phones. Hey, but guess what? We take those things, man. It's nothing better than, guess what, to fight for my people, man. So I don't give a damn if brothers and sisters are dealing with something 2, 3 in the morning, give us a call, man. You know damn well if you don't get one captain, you're going to get another captain for sure. That's how the Most High God has it set up, man. Brothers and sisters have to shake that pride if you are dealing with something. That's what we are literally here for, man. Read on.
Verse 17, and said to the people, be not greedy of their spoils, inasmuch as there is a battle before us.
So we know even going to battle, we always did what? Took the spoils of the other nations. But you want to make sure that you stay in a good mindset even on that. Like Maccabees said, don't be too greedy. We're going to spoil them, like even during this time. You got some out?
Nah, it's that.
Give me Isaiah chapter 60. Isaiah chapter 60 and verse what I'm looking for. Oh, first. So like we said, we have always spoiled the other nations. The things that the Most High God gives. Because remember, the world was made for who? For us. So everything in the world belongs to us. The people and the things. A lot of times we miss that point, man. Read on.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 60, verse 10. And the sons of strangers shall build up thy wall, and their kings shall minister unto thee.
Meaning what? Their leaders, the royalties, they're going to minister unto us. Meaning what? Be at our beck and call. Read on.
For in my wrath I smote thee.
Because we broke the commandments. Read on.
But in my favor have I had mercy on thee.
And the Most High God always has mercy on us if we come back in a humble spirit. Read on.
Therefore thy gates shall be open continually.
Read on.
They shall not be shut day nor night.
Read on.
That men may bring unto thee the forces of the Gentiles.
What are the forces of the Gentiles? Their wealth. That's right. It's going to be open day and night, brothers and sisters, man, to bring that wealth back to us. To literally set the rebuilding of the third temple back up. Like that manure that we had when the Romans came in and sacked Jerusalem in 65 AD. A manure that was about 6 feet tall, pure gold. Guess what? They're going to literally handcraft that thing back the way that it was, man. To the specific specs that the Most High God has, man. The temple being built. And guess what? Brothers and sisters, mansions being built as well, man. Read on.
And that their kings may be brought.
And that their kings may be brought. Meaning what? Brought down to be servants and handmaids. That's what this is going into. Let's go back to 1 Maccabees.
the book of 1 Maccabees, chapter 4, verse 19. As Judas was yet speaking these words, there appeared a part of them looking out of the mountain, who, when they perceived that the Jews had put their host to flight and were burning the tents, for the smoke that was seen declared what was done.
They declared that, guess what, we got the victory. Read on.
They fled every one into the land of strangers. Then Judas returned to spoil the tents, where they got
Verse-
Hold on, read
Yeah, verse 21.
Skip 21.
Verse 21. When, therefore, they perceived these things, they were sore afraid, and seeing also the host of Judas in the plain ready to fight.
So we know that it's natural for the other nations to naturally have a fear of us. You know, and we know a lot of times, sure, they can see little person, and they see the Hulk walking down the street. I mean, come on, man. It's not a coincidence that we're constantly being gunned down. They have a natural fear of us. We're naturally stronger, naturally built better. We're naturally better at everything, man. On a spiritual level, on every level, mental, physically. Go ahead.
And that's the reason why when what they seen a group of men that was in order.
That's right.
They seen the order. They're like, dang, these men come over there because everybody was on one accord with the battle. Everybody knew their job, they knew their role, and they was ready to do it. And when they seen, and that's how they see us in the spiritual battle. When they see a group of brothers in the right spirit, in order, God dang it. Hey, let's go get the police. Let's go get somebody on them, man. We got to stop this, man. We need to go back to sagging that can like the rest of them, man. Smoking weed or something with them.
This thing about when we out there at camp and a brother or somebody walk up to us and they want to talk to somebody on the side. And we don't say a word to them, we stay in order. And they want to start talking, this your leader right here?
Right.
Oh, they speaking for you? Yeah, nah, brother, we in order. They don't like it.
That's right.
Because we have never learned to be in order as a nation of people. So when we do show them order, it's undeniable. It's not understandable to them, right? So that order is the key to us in victory too.
That's right. And that order trickles down to what? On how we celebrate our holy days as well. Brothers and sisters, stand in the spirit. You know, like we said, we have drinks or whatnot, but you want to stay in the spirit while you're having those drinks. Like we say, brothers and sisters will be escorted out. You're not going to let one or two brothers and sisters spoil the fun for what the Most High God is doing. You know, we want to have a good time, man. You know, we're commanded to have a good time, but we're also commanded to be what? To be in order as we have a good time. You know what I'm saying? Not stopping brothers, talking brothers' ear off from hearing the music and getting this boogie on. And, you know, we know the things that brothers and sisters do. We want to check those spirits during feast days and so forth. Guess what? Getting the building back in order. All these things trickle down to those things. Because guess what? The doors will be locked tomorrow. You're locking brothers up in this thing, man. And sisters and children until the building, guess what, is put back together. Or guess what? You take the time to clean up what you and your children did. Everybody, hey, if everybody do that job, hey, we'll be straight. The doors won't be locked.
We ain't gonna lock it. We just gonna look at you. You walk out.
I'm locking them things.
I'm gonna give you that stir, that death stir.
Hey, clink, clink. And look, hey, where was you sitting at, sis? Oh, I'm sitting right there, brother. Okay, let me put the spotlight on that thing. Let Harold close that thing, because you know Israel, they'll bum rush the door. Got to have our backs to the door, fighting like the same. But hey, we want things in order. I know we joke, but hey, this is a big thing, because like we said, hey, we all mess it up. Hey, we all should help clean it up. Let's go back. You got some up? No. Let's go back.
1 Maccabees, chapter 4, verse 22. They fled every one into the land of strangers. Then Judas returned to spoil the tents, where they got much gold and silver, and blue silk, and purple of the sea.
Purple of the sea is going into a pearl that they would use to pull out of the sea to get the color purple. We know purple is a color of what? Royalty. We don't know.
In great riches.
Uh-huh.
After this, they went home and sung a song of thanksgiving and praised the Lord in heaven.
No, they wasn't celebrating Thanksgiving. They sung a song of thanksgiving. And we have to say those things, man. No, this was not Thanksgiving, man.
Don't reach.
Read on.
Because it is good, because his mercy endureth forever.
And we see that the Most High God's mercy endureth forever, because guess what? We wouldn't be here today trying to worship in his name according to the scriptures. We seeing where, like we said, where Christ did these things, I ain't gonna lie, it's kind of hard not to read these things. Jump down to verse 30.
Verse 30. And when he saw that mighty
Oh,
army.
jump up to verse 28.
Verse 28. The next year, therefore, following Lysias.
Another general. So he just defeated Georgias. Now he's fighting who? Lysias. Read on.
Lysias gathered together 70,000 choice men of foot and 5,000 horsemen, that he might subdue them.
So they're gathering up even more troops, trying to, guess what, take us back down. Remember, they're fighting for what? For Jerusalem and for the temple. They're fighting to, guess what, keep their wicked sacrifices going, slaughtering pigs across the altar, defaming and defiling our temple. Even like how they're doing today on the spiritual level, with pork every damn where. I'm talking about everywhere. You have to even look in some damn toothpaste's head. I mean, it's everywhere. Now, that's what we tell brothers. Making sure you're praying over your food, praying that the Most High God do what? Even if you do by accident, making sure the Most High God let that thing pass through you, man. Hey, it's everywhere. According to Ezekiel chapter 4, verse 14, man, all this food has been polluted, man. You trying your best, your hardest. Hey. You got some more? Read on.
Verse 29. So they came into Idumea and pitched their tents at Bethsura. And Judas met with them 10,000 men.
Read on.
And when he saw that mighty army, he prayed and said, Blessed art thou, O Savior of Israel.
Oh, who?
O Savior of Israel.
Read on now.
Who didst quail the violence of the mighty man by the hand of thy servant David.
So once again, he's doing what? Bringing up our history. Calling to remembrance the history of our forefathers. He called to remembrance of what? Moses being saved out of the Red Sea. Joseph, with him being in prison. Now he's calling to remembrance what our forefather David did. Just like how we're doing right now. Let's get a precept. Let's go to the book of Numbers. Chapter 7 and verse 1. Because even during this time, I know a lot of times, I know it'd be controversial with brothers in certain camps. Like we said, we love our brothers. You know, even the ones that we don't totally line up with. We understand there's going to be differences of doctrine. But we literally can see precept upon precept. Or even what? Moses dedicated the temple. You know, these things are not new. And that's going into the secrets and the mysteries. We thinking that it's a new thing from Maccabees era. But no. We see it was what? With Moses. Moses passed it on to King David. King David passed it on to King Solomon. Solomon them did what? Passed it on to Ezra, Nehemiah, to the Maccabees, all the way up until who? To Christ. So we're seeing that this is not a new thing at all. Read this out.
The book of Numbers, chapter 7, verse 1. And it came to pass on that day, Moses had fully set up the tabernacle and anointed it and sanctified it.
And did what?
And sanctified
it. When you look in the Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary, so like it, brothers and sisters, you will see that the word dedicated is also another word for sanctified. Let's get that real quick. Dedication on page 130. So like it. You said what up? Oh yeah. We'll read that. I'll read it. Go ahead.
The Compact Bible Dictionary. Dedication of Feast of. Page
Now
1.
jump up to dedication.
All right. Dedication. 130. Page 130. To sanctify. To consecrate.
It says dedication to sanctify, to consecrate. Read on.
An expression denoting dedication of persons, but usually of the setting apart of things for God's use.
But usually of the setting apart of things for God's use. Ain't we not a set apart people? We're set apart people. We don't do the things that other nations do. You don't see everybody celebrating the dedication. Hell, even when the fake Jews are doing it, or Amalek doing it, guess what? They're not even doing it right. Read on.
Consecration of the tabernacle
Uh-huh.
was an elaborate ceremony.
Was a what?
Elaborate ceremony.
That's what we're getting to hold right now. An elaborate ceremony. Sisters come in and get the building looking nice. Read on up.
As was that of the temple, among various dedicated things were.
And even like how we talk, like we said, even for sisters to partake in those things, even in their own homes. That's really getting in the spirit of the Feast of Dedication. I know we touched on it last week in the Sunday class. It's all right to decorate those things. No damn well you was decorating during Christmas time. You put Christmas stuff up even before Thanksgiving came. Lights and so forth. So how much more the Most High God? Setting tables and so forth, putting your gold ornaments out, just really showing that royalty. So whenever family members come, they're looking at these things, they understanding what you are doing, man. Like literally taking these things serious. You got something about?
I was just thinking about that. That brothers and sisters should be taking account of that, man. Thinking about, like you say, when you was celebrating that Christmas, man, guess what, man? When you get finished with Christmas, you'll pack all that stuff up, be ready for the next year, man.
Mm-hmm.
Brothers and sisters should be thinking the same way about Feast of Dedication, man. Hey, have your stuff out, family members come in and see, they like, dang, I like that. Yep. Explain the Feast of Dedication. Guess what, man? You celebrate it for the Most High and for yourself. Guess what? You put your stuff back up ready for the next year again, man. But should be having that. And guess what? Because I never really kind of just thought about it, but you know what? That's gonna probably be a thing I do for my house too.
That's right.
Yeah, for real.
Read on up.
Among various dedicated things were the city wall.
The who?
The city wall.
So we had the wall that was being dedicated. And that's what we go to what Nehemiah, we're going to touch on that second. Read on.
Private dwellings.
Say that again.
Private dwellings.
Private dwellings, meaning what? Even your own house, your home. Dedicated these things, man. Decorate these things, man. Let our light shine, man. All the way. Read on.
The temple treasure.
The temple treasure. Read on.
The child. People. And booty of war.
And booty of war. Read on up.
Dedication feast of an annual festival of the Jews.
Of the who?
Of the Jews.
Read on up.
Held throughout the country for 8 days. Celebrating the restoration of the temple following its desecration at the hands of Syrians.
The Syrians.
So like under Antiochus Epiphanes.
So we see these things. Like we said. And we understand that we're in captivity. The Feast of Dedication is really 8 days. But we understand being in captivity went on to celebrating 4 days. We're praying to be able to get to that day to where we can celebrate it all 8 days. Like we said, that'll be when Esau really is in captivity. So you won't have time, hey, Esau, Ham, I want these decorations just like this. I want this garment for the morning. I want that garment for the afternoon. I want this one for the evening. And then I want them 3 times 8. Like literally 24 garments. I'm gonna be changing garments like, boy, like it ain't nothing, boy. Y'all know how Israel love to get clean, man. No sisters say, I want them shoes with the pointed toes, polished. I want them rhinestones on that thing. No, give me the diamonds on those things. Like we can't literally understand the things that the Most High God have for us that wait for him, man. We're not gonna be able to imagine those things, man. It's gonna be on that type of a level, man. Far beyond what we done seen on TVs and so forth, man. Let's go back to Numbers chapter 7 and verse 1. Yeah, you can read that right quick.
The feast came on the 25th of Kislev, which is December. Josephus called it the Feast of Lights.
The Feast of Lights. That's another name for Hanukkah or the dedication. Read that out.
The book of Numbers, chapter 7, verse 1 from the top. And it came to pass on that day that Moses had fully set up the tabernacle and had anointed it and sanctified it and all the instruments thereof, both the altar and all the vessels thereof, and had anointed them and sanctified them.
Sanctified, dedicated, going into the same thing. Read on.
That the princes of Israel, heads of the house of their fathers, who were the princes of the tribes, and were over them that were numbered offered.
Offered. So we know that during those times we offered up spiritual gifts. We offered up literal spiritual things for the dedication. Jump down to verse 11.
Let me touch on something else.
Go ahead, Al.
Even touching on what I was touching on, like on verse 24, and how we dedicated right there too. Go to Psalms chapter 118 right quick. Psalms chapter 118 verse 1. Because we always this when we gave praise or we gave thanks, guess what we gave? This is part of our dedication for the Most High God, giving praise to Him, right? Read that out.
The book of Psalms, chapter 118, verse 1. Oh, give thanks unto the Lord, for He is good,
But He is good. Read.
because His mercy endureth forever.
So like he said, we wasn't never celebrating no Thanksgiving, but we always gave the Most High God His thanks, man. We gave Him His praise, right? Because guess what? He the one that deliver us out of this captivity and every other captivity we've been into, right? You know.
Let Israel now say that His mercy endureth forever.
But it's saying the same thing when you go to Psalm chapter 136 and verse 1, how we gave thanks to the Most High God. So when we going into our dedication, what do? We give thanks to the Most High God for letting us make it to the dedication so we can dedicate ourselves to the Most High God, right?
That's right.
Go ahead.
That's a great point, Al. Let's go back to the book of Numbers. We'll read verse 10. Numbers chapter 7 and verse 10. Just going through some history on how our forefathers, Judas Maccabees, did. Constantly went through the history showing our people that guess what? This was our heritage. This is our tradition.
The book of Numbers, chapter 7, verse 10. And the princes offered for dedicating of the altar in the day that it was anointed. Even the princes offered their offering before the altar.
So we see where they offered the dedication. They dedicated the altar to the Most High God. Read on up.
And the Lord said unto Moses, they shall offer their offering, each prince on his day, for the dedicating of the altar.
So we're seeing these things. The dedication of the temple. You got it of the altar. You also have it of the table of showbread, of the manure. All these things that were holy vessels that were in the temple. And like we said, even on the spiritual level, those things hit home. Like we say, even on the altar, like we said, that's a spiritual aspect representing Christ, as He is what? The ultimate sacrifice for our sins. Right. Him being a representation of the manure, being a light to enlighten our people constantly in this walk. The temple is making reference to what? To your body. That we're dedicating constantly to the Lord to do His work. To understand that, guess what? I'm doing your will, Lord, and not my own. That's what true dedication is all about, man. Give me Nehemiah. Give me Nehemiah chapter 12 and verse 27. See where they dedicated the temple, then we'll go back.
The book of Nehemiah, chapter 12, verse 27. And at the dedication of the wall of Jerusalem, they sought the Levites out of all their places.
They did what?
They sought the Levites out of all their places.
So we know during the time of the Persian and Mede captivity, King Cyrus, the Most High God put it on King Cyrus' spirit to let Ezra and Nehemiah go back and build up the temple. That was destroyed by who? Who destroyed the first temple? Let's see if brothers be on there. I'm asking.
The Babylonians.
The Babylonians, all praise God. Brothers got to understand that history frontwards and backwards. What year?
586 BC.
All praise. Brothers got to understand that thing, man. Read that again from the top.
The book of Nehemiah, chapter 12, verse 27.
And
at the dedication of the wall of Jerusalem, they sought the Levites out of all their places to bring them to Jerusalem, to keep the dedication.
To do what?
To keep the dedication.
To keep the dedication. Read on up.
With gladness. Both with thanksgiving and with singing, with cymbals, with psalteries, and with harps.
So even like how we have a good time. You know, we have the music playing, truth music playing, brothers and sisters dancing in the spirit. We'll be dancing like how you danced in the world. We not dealing with that. No. The Most High God is not dealing with that, man. You know, we royal dances. You know, anything where you got to put your elbows on your knees, that's not a royal dance, man. That's a hoochie dance, man. We got to stop playing. You said what?
Not the hands on the knees.
Not the hands on the knees, man. Keep it strictly PG.
That's right. You do that at home. You see the private room.
Read on up.
Verse 28. And the sons of the singers gathered themselves together, both out of the plain country, round about Jerusalem, and from the villages of Naphtali.
Notropatha. So we see where there was gathering all, like we say, brothers in these different areas together to do what? To celebrate the dedication. So we're even seeing where Nehemiah did these things. Let's go back to the book of Maccabees. First Maccabees chapter 4 and verse. Start at verse 30.
Book of First Maccabees, chapter 4, verse 30. And when he saw that mighty army, he prayed and said, Blessed art thou, O Savior of Israel, who didst quell the violence of the mighty man by the hand of thy servant David, and gavest the host of strangers into the hand of Jonathan, the son of Saul, and his armor bearer.
During this time, go ahead. You want to say something? What'd you even say? Same thing. Who was they fighting during this time? King David and Saul and Jonathan. Who was they fighting during this time? What nation of people? Brothers don't know the history of David. David? Not the Greeks. When did the Greeks come into power, Brother King? Hold up real quick, bro.
Was it 333 BC?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we know BC ticks down, AD ticks up.
Okay.
So this was way before, King David came way before the Greeks.
Okay.
Who was King David fighting during this time? Brother Ehud.
Philistine?
The Philistines.
I was going to say, you better not be I wouldn't go opinion in him, boy.
Say it again. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
That's all it.
I would think.
The Lord was what? Was a Philistine.
Philistine.
Read on up.
31. Shut up this army in the hand of thy people Israel, and let them be confounded in their power, in horses.
Read on.
Make them to be of no courage, and cause the boldness of their strength to fall away, and let them quake at their destruction.
And let them quake. So this is not a new thing as well, because we seeing. That's what you think they're gonna have that same fear on them when Christ comes. Give me the book of 2nd Ezra. Gonna have that same fear on them when Christ comes. So the Most High God is literally gonna have to put it in their spirit to fight Christ. They ain't trying to see it, hey, man coming with all that power and glory. Give me 2nd Ezra chapter 13 and verse 8.
It ain't no coincidence they saying, one man shouldn't have that much power.
Ain't too bad.
Damn bad.
2nd Ezra chapter 13. I know we'll slow it down a little bit. 2nd Ezra chapter 13 and verse 8.
The book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 13, verse 8. And after this I beheld, and lo, all they which were gathered together to subdue him were sore afraid.
They were what?
Were sore afraid.
Read on.
And yet durst fight.
They were sore afraid, but guess what? They yet durst fight. Meaning the Most High God is going to have to make them fight against Christ. We're literally seeing somebody, thousands upon thousands of chariots, and him coming out of the fathership, basically. You knowing, they not going to be able to win that battle, man. With all the technology that the Most High God is giving them, man. They knowing that. Read on.
And lo, as he saw the violence of the multitude that came, he neither lift up his hands, nor held sword, nor any instrument of war.
Read on out.
But only I saw that he sent out of his mouth, as it had been a blast of fire, and out of his lips a flaming breath.
Read on out.
And out of his tongue he cast out sparks and tempests.
So we know that this is going into what? The word.
Right.
Christ speaking the word as a fire. And it burns brothers and sisters' spirits up. That's what the word does. It convicts our spirit. It cuts deeper than any sword or any knife ever could. You read a few precepts to brothers and sisters, boy, you instantly start seeing tears come out. Brother, I just read one word. Hey, that's what the spirit does, though, man. It literally convicts that spirit, man. It does something. Read on.
Verse 11.
Let me get a precept on this.
Break it out.
Let's go to Isaiah chapter 11 and verse 4. It's saying the same thing, man. Because this is how Christ's going to be doing when he judging the nations, man. He's going to be smiting the earth, smiting the nations. Like you say, by speaking the word, man. Let's read it.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 11, verse 4. But with righteousness shall he judge the poor.
But with righteousness, Christ going to judge the poor, man. Read.
And reprove with equity.
With equity.
With equity for the meek of the earth.
Read.
And he shall smite the earth with the rod of his mouth.
With the what?
With the rod of his
He
mouth.
gonna smite the earth with the rod of his mouth. He gonna be literally speaking it out, and it's gonna be, it gonna be destroyed, right? Read.
And with the breath of his lips shall he slay the wicked.
Because this is what Christ come to do, and we know if you read it, even in context, if you jump up to verse 1, you know that this is going into Christ. Right?
That's right.
So, yeah.
Let's get another precept. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 5 and verse 14. Like we say, I know sometimes we try to tone it down, but the Most High God said, nigga, who are you? Crank it up. So I was going to read that precept, but even like Captain Jeremiah, hey, he brought it out, and it compels us to bring other precepts out. Jeremiah chapter 5 and verse 14. Read that out.
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 5, verse 14. Wherefore, thus saith the Lord, God of hosts, because ye spake this word, behold, I will make my words in thy mouth fire.
Make them what up?
Fire.
Uh-huh.
And this people wood.
Uh-huh.
And it shall devour them.
And it shall do what?
And it shall devour them.
Hey, when these scriptures is coming out, when brothers and sisters are not doing what they're supposed to do, it convicts them in the spirit. Like we say, and it burns up their spirit. Like we said, the Most High God likens us to what? To trees. That's literally, like we said, on a spiritual level, you're burning up inside, man. A lot of times you can't take it. They cannot take it. Even when you see in those damn exorcist movies and so forth, Damien, whoever it is, and they're literally what? Reading the Bible. Even though we know the damn Catholic priest ain't in the right spirit, when they read those words, what is that demon doing? Fighting, mad, spitting, doing all type of things, trying not to what? To hear the word. It's the same way even in this walk, man. We're literally seeing spirits, like we say, on brothers. You can deal with the brother from last week, man. But that spirit, a demon on brother, man. We're literally seeing these things, man. I'm talking about a strong demon on him, man.
Right.
But guess what? We put those scriptures on his behind. Later came back and apologized, man. We know that, guess what? Eventually that demon, that spirit had left that brother, man. So you literally see those things in real time, man.
Let's get one more, man. Psalm 18 and 8. Start at 8. 7. 6. 5. No, 7. For real, 7. Psalm 18 and 7. It's pretty. I mean, I got all these on there. Every single one of these. It's another one too, a great one.
Yeah.
316.
That's what I was debating.
I got that too.
I'll pray and read it.
The book of Psalms, chapter 18, verse 7.
Mm-hmm.
Then the earth shook and trembled. The foundation also of the hills moved and were shaken, because he was wroth.
So the earth is going to tremble in that day, man. But like I said, he's going to make them dare to fight anyway, right? Read on.
There went up a smoke out of his
A
nostril.
what?
There went up a smoke out of his nostril.
And what when the smoke come after what? After fire, man. So read on.
And fire out of his mouth devoured. Coals were kindled by it.
Uh-huh.
He bowed the heavens also and came down, and darkness was under his feet.
So it said it was smoke coming out of his nose after that fire, and blast of fire came from his mouth, man. So that's another precept you can put with it. Also, we said with Isaiah 30 and 27 on down.
Make sure brothers write those things down, man. So those are good precepts that brothers can bring out Well, we out there in battle. Let's go back to 2nd Ezra chapter 13 and verse 11. Oh no, brothers and sisters, still cold, but y'all can dial down some of that heat, boy. No, he got these
No.
look at brother here, man. I guess that word burning me up then.
Say what they say.
You can take it off. It's hard to put it back on, man.
Read that up.
The book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 13, verse 11. And they were all mixed together, the blast of fire, the flaming breath, and the great tempest, and fell with violence upon the multitude, which was prepared to fight,
Read on out.
and burnt them up, everyone, so that upon a sudden of an innumerable multitude, nothing was to be perceived, but only dust and the smell of smoke.
Read on out.
When I saw this, I was afraid.
Hey, when Ezra, a righteous man, saw this, he was afraid. So how much fear should we have for this day, man? Hey, that's why it's pivotal for brothers and sisters to get their spirits right, man. You have to get your spirits right in these times, man, or else, hey, you're going to be on the outside looking in, man. Let's go back to 1 Maccabees. That's right. First Maccabees chapter 4 and verse 34.
Book of 1 Maccabees, chapter 4, verse number 34. So they joined battle, and there were slain of the host of Lysias about 5,000 men. Even before them were they slain.
Read on.
Now when Lysias saw his army put to flight, and the manliness of Judah's soldiers.
And the manliness of Judah's soldiers. Meaning what? Brothers have to put that spirit back on, man. Because we know we're even fighting on that level. You know, with the soft spirit, the effeminate spirit. We knowing that's the works of Satan, even in this captivity. The land of Sodom and Gomorrah. He's trying to role reverse. Effeminate men and what? Masculine women. And he's been doing a damn good job of those things, man. So we got to constantly fight these things, man. Put manliness back in Israel, man. Brothers and sisters, make a shirt, man. That thing is heavy, man. Because we're seeing these things. No, Most High God wasn't dealing with soft men. Christ was austere. We have to stop listening to the watered down lies that they done gave us. These little boys and girls. Come in and sit right here. Oh, brother, I forgive you, brother. Yes, he forgave them, but he gave their behinds a good rebuking before he did it, man. He was constantly going at brother. No, brother, I don't think y'all should have talked to that brother. Brother, shut the hell up. Or we gonna listen to you, or we gonna listen to the scriptures, man. Even with the sister, sometimes, don't go so hard. You get a look at the, hey, stay in your lane.
Then something happened. Then you be like, coming. Well, I saw no. But I tried to help that situation out. Now something happened. Now all of a sudden, now you want to come running back. Well, I didn't mean to try to tell you to be not to be. Yes, you did, because you couldn't take it either, right? That's brother and sister, like you say. People want counsel afterwards. They don't want counsel before, man. And this is what people got to wrap them. Get some counsel before, right?
Mm-hmm. Give me that precept. Give me 2nd Ezra chapter 10. 2nd Ezra chapter 10. What brother know what I'm looking for? Let's see if we working in that spirit. I just want to know. Just testing the spirit, man. I already gave y'all a hint. If y'all got it highlighted and click. Rest talk what I'm looking for.
10:33.
Man, that brother here. That boy good. Brother good, man. Read that out.
The book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 10, verse 33. And he said unto me, stand up manfully.
Do what
stand up manfully.
Even he was telling, like I say, Ezra's doing this time. Stand up manfully. Read on out.
And I will advise thee.
Only when we stand up manfully will the Most High God start to advise us. Right. Standing up manfully is going into what? 1 Kings 2 and 2, keeping the commandments. All those things start to trickle down when brothers understanding certain precepts on how to line them up. Like I said, hey, sometimes it'll be a fight in the house, man. to guess what? Keep God's law, statutes, and commandments. You shouldn't put that off. Now you should know the season, but guess what? It should be our jobs to fight for these commandments, man. It'll be our arguments. Guess what? Brothers trying to get their wives in order. Sisters trying to get the children's in order. It's going to be those arguments. Sisters got to stand up womanly and men got to stand up manfully, man.
Right.
And guess what? Be guided by the scriptures. When you're speaking your own words, that's the breakdown. It's always a breakdown when brothers and sisters are speaking their own words.
Let's get another precept, man. Let's go to Job chapter 8 and verse 3, man. Saying the same thing, man. Like the Lord say, we're supposed to be standing up manfully, man. Not womanly. Because I'm so, and I don't know how brothers feel, but I'm damn sure tired of them HIV commercial with all them so-called black men. They show nothing but black men on there, man.
Programming
God,
our
dang
people,
it,
man. There's no wonder it's TV programming, man. Brothers have to shake that spirit, and we're going to call it out, man. Whether they like it or not, man. We have to, man.
Sad, man. Read it out. 38 and 3. Like Job 38 and 3.
Book of Job, chapter 38, verse 3.
Mm-hmm.
Gird up now thy loins like a man.
What does the Bible say, man?
Gird up now thy loins like a
Saying
man.
the Lord, man, it's saying the same thing in second entry saying, man. Gird up now thy Lord like a man, man. Right? Read.
For I will demand of thee, and answer thou me.
So guess what? Now then the Lord gonna lead you. Then the guidance is there. Once we gird up our loins like a man. Everything's set in order, right? Go ahead.
Let's go on, man. First Chronicles 28. 28, 30, and 20. So we tell brothers and sisters, I can say this, brothers and sisters, man. Gird up. First Chronicles 28 and 20. Shalaka, did I tell you that?
30. I'm saying 30.
28 and 20, my bad. But we tell brothers what, gird up your loins. Sisters what, gird up your skirts, man. This ain't no soft battle. This ain't no play right now. Right? Like I said, you're going to be some fights sometimes. But brothers and sisters, even when dealing with church,
Ding ding.
we got to get them things going, man.
Ding ding.
Shit,
Oh
we
well.
gonna-
Ring the bell.
We're going to gird up them pampers too with they butts, man. Right? Pull ups and all, man. We got to.
Little footy.
We'll read this out.
The book of First Chronicles, chapter 28, verse 20.
Uh-huh.
And David said to Solomon his
So this
son.
is David instructing his sons, like, right? Read on.
And David said to Solomon his son,
Uh-huh.
be strong.
Be what?
Be strong.
Be strong. Ain't time for that weak nature. You can't go out there in the streets, man, with that weak nature, expecting people to come and say, "Oh yeah, I understand it." Nah, you got to go out there sometimes be fierce, man. You got to be stern and strong in your delivery and even your doctrine, man. Right? Read on.
And of good courage.
Uh-huh.
And do it.
And what?
And do it.
And do it. Read on.
Fear not.
Read that again.
Fear not.
Because it's too many times, like I said, we get brothers on, man. Y'all didn't have to talk to them. Yes, we did. Sister, y'all didn't have to do it. Yes, we did. Well, could y'all have been? No, we couldn't. Not in that situation. You know, Jude 1:18. Some say with compassion, others say with fear, right? So it's really upon the situation, but we cannot play the games and be soft, man. King David is charging his son, and he's telling him to what? Be
Fear.
strong, be courage, and do it. And what? And fear not. Read on.
Nor be dismayed. For the Lord God, even my God, will be with thee.
And when you're doing these things like a man, fully man, he said the Lord gonna be with you. When you are standing up courageous, being strong, not being soft, tender, delicate, right? He said the Lord will be with you. Read on.
Will be with thee. He will not fail thee,
Mm-hmm.
nor forsake thee,
Until what?
until thou hast finished all the work for the service of the house
And that-
of the Lord.
And that last part is heavy too. Until you have finished all the work, man. This ain't no, oh, well, I'm going to be strong right now and then later on. But no. Until you done finish this work. Until the Lord come and say, yeah, good fight, soldier, right?
Mm-hmm.
Until you say faithful. Hey, you got to continue in these things, man.
That's
To
right.
be strong, man. Fearless, man. Austere. Go ahead, Al.
Let's go back to 1 Maccabees chapter 4 and verse 35 again.
Book of First Maccabees, chapter 4, verse 35. Now when Lysias saw his army put to flight and the manliness of Judah's soldiers,
Uh-huh.
and how they were ready either to live or die valiantly.
Read on up.
He went to Antioch
Uh-huh.
and gathered together a company of strangers, and having made his army greater than it was, he proposed to come again into Judea.
Read on up.
Then said Judas and his brethren, Behold, our enemies are discomfited.
So we constantly see, even before then, they were constantly doing what? Battle after battle after battle after battle. Same way in this truth. It's going to be what? Battle after battle after battle after battle. So you can't have that mindset. I know a lot of times we just speak it sometimes. Damn, not again. But you have to understand that it's going to be that way up until Christ comes. It's going to be that way, man. Like we say, you want to literally train your mind to, guess what? Be ready to deal with these things. Even going back into the history, like I always bring up with Moses. How many times did Moses have to speak on behalf of the children of Israel? Constantly. That's some good history, man. I had to meditate on that. Like, damn, when we constantly see things constantly coming up. Constantly coming up. Because I know a lot of times we do want some type of peace. But we see those things. Right after Korah, lusting about the meat, this, that. It was always something right after another, man. Always something. We have to take these things into consideration, brothers and sisters, even in this walk and apply. Read on up.
Behold, our enemies are discomfited. Let us go up to cleanse and dedicate the sanctuary.
So even with the mindset, like we say, Judas always had that mindset to do what? Dedicate and cleanse the sanctuary. Like we say, even on a spiritual note, it's our job to dedicate our temple and cleanse our temple as well, man. Meaning what? Your bodies. Whatever drugs, whatever alcohol, whatever lust, whatever hatred, whatever envy, whatever jealousy that brothers and sisters have in their temple, you must cleanse those things, man. Read on.
Verse 37. Upon this, all the hosts assembled themselves together and went up into Mount Zion.
Read on up.
And when they saw the sanctuary desolate, and the altar profaned, and the gates burnt up, and shrubs growing in the courts.
Read on.
As in a forest.
As in a what?
As in a forest.
So we see this is also going into what? The abomination of desolation as well. But it's just not one time. What is the abomination of desolation? Who prophesied about that? Any brothers know? The abomination
of desolation.
Yes. Who prophesied? Daniel. All praise God. Daniel chapter 9. You know, we did a class on those things. It's people that brothers, especially the ones that teach, go back and watch these things, man. You never know. You can probably add more into it when you're watching it, man. You just never know. You know, but this is good history that brothers need to bring these things out. Now, Daniel was warning us about these things, but even more so, like we say, Christ. Because when was the other abomination of desolation? Any brother know? I don't know.
When they destroyed the
70
temple,
AD. What precept? Oh, praise. Let's get that. Matthew 24 and verse 15. Let's get that right quick. Because even like during that time, Daniel warned us about one, but Christ warned us about others. Letting you know it's going to constantly be what? Abominations of desolation. Even going into what? Jacob's trouble. You know, we're seeing those things. That's going to be another one, man. Like I said, these scriptures are to prepare us. You know, it's trying to prepare the prudent for the things that, guess what, is going to happen in the future. A prudent man is a man that foreseeth the future. How do we foresee the future? Through the scriptures. Not on, what's her name? Cleo. I know what I'm talking about. Lady Cleo on the tarot cards. Cleo, what you see in my future? I see a husband that's going to come to you. Nigga, wicked as hell. You didn't tell her that part, though. Yeah, he conveniently left that out. Read that out.
The book of Matthew, chapter 24, verse 15. When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place. Whoso readeth, let him understand.
When it says stand in the holy place, meaning the scriptures, Christ was giving them the understanding to do what? Flee Jerusalem. But you had sects of Israelites that didn't listen. Like how we have brothers and sisters that don't listen. So a lot of times they're what? destroyed during this time on a physical level, and in our time on a spiritual level, man. We have to see the correlation with these things. So y'all make sure y'all write, even in Matthew's chapter 24 or Daniel's chapter 9, going into that. Because the Most High God, before things happen, the Most High God is always doing what? Giving us a one-up. To do what? To prepare brothers and sisters, man. So you're not caught off guard or whatnot, to an extent.
Like I say, when brothers giving out precept, it's good to go back to go check and see if their precept is right there beside their precept, man. Trying to help brothers get their study habits together.
That's right. Let's go back to the book of 1 Maccabees chapter 4 and verse 38. I know it'd be hard not to read the whole thing. 38.
The book of 1 Maccabees, chapter 4, verse 38. And when they saw the sanctuary desolate, and the altar profane, and the gates burnt up, and the shrubs growing in the court, as in a forest, or in one of the mountains, yea, and the priest's chambers pulled down, they rent their clothes.
They did what?
They rent their clothes.
They rent their clothes. So even on a, like we say, a similitude for our people, it says, and when they saw the sanctuary desolate, meaning what? Brothers and sisters, temples not applying the scriptures. When we out there seeing it, dry and thirsty grounds, meaning what? They're not getting the water of the word. You tell when brothers and sisters are not reading. You can see it, not applying certain scriptures. You want to make sure that you get in a good study habit, whether or not. I know you can come to the truth. I know, especially for new brothers and new sisters, they damn sure should be on fire. You know, I know a certain type of spirit that the Most High God put on brothers and sisters when they come into the truth. Hey, you can't stop reading the Bible, man. Well, you know, as you get more and more involved in doing the work, we know a lot of times those things start to cease to a little bit. But when you come into the truth, hey, brothers and sisters should be reading, man. Like you shouldn't be getting enough of the scriptures. Trying to soak up every class and every precept that you can obtain, man. Understanding all high holy days, making sure you have a good understanding of those things so you can build yourself up to teach new brothers and sisters in this walk. Or let them know about the truth. You should literally be on fire in this thing, man. Read verse 38 again.
Verse 38.
38.
38. And when they saw the sanctuary desolate, and the altar profane, and the gates burnt up.
Meaning what? Even with our gates going into our leaders. We seeing these things all burnt up. We got to look at these things on a spiritual aspect, man. We seeing there's no real leadership. T.D. Jakes is not a leader. Reverend Al Sharp, they are not leaders, man. They're not quoting the Bible. They're not what? Applying the scriptures. Read on up.
And shrubs growing in the courts, as in a forest, or in one of the mountains. Yea, and the priest's chambers pulled down. They rent their clothes, and made great lamentation, and cast ashes upon their heads.
Because they did what? They humbled themselves to the Most High God. We have to come back as humble people in this walk, man.
Yeah. And you see the shrubs, man. You see when you ain't cut the grass, when you ain't did nothing to that place, and you go back to that place and see it just shrubbed out.
That's right.
It's like it was a forest, man. That's why we got to come back to it. It's our heritage, our keeping the dedication, our keeping our laws. It's like a shrub. It's like forest right now. Ain't nobody tilled it, right? Ain't nobody went and tried to build it up, man. We're trying to build it back up right now, so it won't look like no forest, so it won't look in the condition that it's in right now, so our people won't be in the condition they're in.
That's right. Go ahead, Captain Jeff. Yeah, read that out.
Verse 40. And fell down flat to the ground upon their faces, and blew an alarm with the trumpets, and cried towards heaven. Then Judas appointed certain men to fight against those that were in the fortress, until he had cleansed the sanctuary.
Until he had what?
Until he had cleansed the sanctuary.
So the Most High God has certain brothers appointed to do what? Fight to cleanse the sanctuary. You know, going into the leaders that we see of all Israelite camps and whatnot. Read on up.
So he chose priests of blameless conversation.
Of what up?
Of blameless conversation.
And we want to make sure that even the conversations that we do have are blameless. And I know it takes another level to get to, but like we say, that's always the goal. And what brothers doing classes on holy your conversation. You know, brothers and sisters want to make sure that they are doing these things in real time. Try to catch yourself. Put checks and balances on yourself. that shows a level of growth, man, that brothers and sisters need to be trying to obtain to. Read on out.
Such as had pleasure in the law.
Read that again out.
Such as had pleasure in the law.
Mm-hmm.
Who cleanse the sanctuary and bear out the defiled stones into an unclean place. And when as they consulted what to do with the altar of burnt offerings, which was profane.
Meaning what? They were sacrificing swine's flesh on the altars. So they're counseling together on what to do on these things. When we jump over, keep reading while I find it.
Verse 45. They thought it best to pull it down, lest it should be a reproach to them, because the heathen had defiled it, wherefore they pulled it down.
And how was they defiling the temple?
This is
Worshiping idols, sacrificing swine's flesh. They was doing a lot of stuff, right? You know. But what precept can y'all go to find it?
First Maccabees 1:41.
First Maccabees 1:41, right? On down. Well, go to First Maccabees 1:47.
147.
The book,
46.
the book of First Maccabees, chapter 1, verse 46. And pollute the sanctuary and holy people, set up altars and groves and chapels of idols, and sacrifice swine's flesh.
And they was doing what?
And sacrifice swine's flesh.
Because guess what, man? You see nothing in the Levitical laws, nothing in the laws. Guess what? Where they sacrifice any kind of swine, right? The Lord said, "Who can pull a clean thing out of an unclean thing? Not one." So when they sacrificed swine's flesh, it was going all the way off, right? Read.
And sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts.
And unclean beasts. Read.
That they should also leave their children uncircumcised.
So guess what? Leave their children not keeping the law, man. Read.
And make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanliness and profanation.
So that's what they was doing inside the temple, man. Let's go back to First Maccabees.
All praise, man. Hey, that's this thing all about, because I couldn't remember where the precept was, but hey, right there, man, all praise. Let's go back. Read that. Verse 43. Mm-hmm.
First Maccabees, chapter 4, verse 43. Who cleansed the sanctuary and bear out the defiled stones into an unclean place. And when, as they consulted what to do with the altar of burnt offering, which was profane,
By sacrificing swine's flesh, like I just went into. Read on.
they thought it best to pull it down, lest it should be a reproach to them.
The Most High God do what? Bring judgment back on them. Because like we said, when things are defiled, you want to do what? Get rid of those things totally, man. Like we're saying, we're knowing that, guess what? Us being old creatures, let me get that right quick. New creature. So brothers and sisters know. You are a new creature for my Bible preceptors. We can find that right quick. What you say over there? New creature. Matthew's what?
2 Corinthians. 2 Corinthians 5.
The book of 2 Corinthians chapter 5 and verse 17.
The book of 2 Corinthians, chapter 5, verse 17. Therefore, if any man be in Christ, he is a new creature. Old things are passed away.
So you have to pass away your old spirit. Like we said, that spirit of being a whoremonger, not trying to, guess what, guide your house, sisters running the streets, doing all God knows what. No. You have to put all those things behind you. Putting on the scriptures, putting on the spirit that the scriptures say. Sisters understanding what? Titus chapter 2 verse 3. Titus chapter 2 verse 11 on down. Understanding these things, even with brothers understanding what the role that marriage plays, the role that they play in marriage. Going into Ephesians chapter 5. Read on up.
Behold, all things are become new.
All things are become new. Guess what? If you are putting on Christ. Like I say, you can't waver in this truth, brothers and sisters, man. Hey, I want to be an Israelite in words, but not in deeds. You know, it's okay for you to tell and talk to brothers and sisters about being an Israelite, showing you your fringes, but then you're not what? Ultimately, you're not being an example for those brothers and sisters, man. We have to watch those particular type spirits, man. That's a myth.
Matter of fact, let's go there. Let's go to Leviticus chapter 22 right quick. Leviticus chapter 22 and verse 15. Because this goes into like what the Levitical priest was doing, like how we were supposed to be touching anything that was unclean, man. Especially going into a sacrifice, man, right? That's the reason why the Lord say, hey, the sacrifices of bulls and rams, hey, the Lord said, what I need there for, man? I want y'all just to keep the commandments, man, right? That's why we up under grace. Read that right quick, 15.
The book of Leviticus, chapter 22, verse 15. And they shall not profane the holy things of the children of Israel, which they offer unto the Lord.
So guess what? When we offer anything unto the when we offer anything to the Lord, it shouldn't be anything that's unclean, man. Everything has to be holy unto the Most High God, right? Read.
Verse 16. Or suffer them to bear the iniquity of trespass when they eat their holy things.
Read.
For I, the Lord, do sanctify them.
So because the Lord said he do sanctify those things, man. So whatever the things that the Lord accepted for us to do, according to when you go into Leviticus chapter 11, these things are set up, guess what, for us to show us the clean things and the unclean things. Things that we can sacrifice to the Most High, and things that we can't sacrifice to the Most High. The things that we can eat and the things that we cannot eat, man. It's already like, hey, what Paul say, hey, we established the law. The law was already established, man. According like we see in Romans 3 and 31, the law was already established. So let's not try to change the law. It is what it is, man.
That's right.
Go ahead,
Let's go back to 1 Maccabees chapter 4. Chapter 4 and verse 46.
The book of 1 Maccabees, chapter 4, verse 46. And laid up the stones in the mountain of the temple in a convenient place until there should come a prophet to show what should be done with them.
Meaning what the specifications on how to order it according to the Most High God. They were waiting for a prophet to literally give them that secret understanding. Like we say, we know we have the physical stones, but more importantly in today's time, we have what? Those spiritual stones. Give me 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 5. That we are setting up right now. Say these are the secrets. Like we said, the Bible talks on a physical level, but it's also, and more importantly, a deeper spiritual side to it. Read this out.
The book of 1 Peter, chapter 2, verse 5. Ye also as lively stones.
As lively what?
As lively stones.
As lively stones. Read on up.
Are built up a spiritual house.
Now, we're those lively stones that are building up our spiritual house. You want to make sure that you got every brick in its proper place. Meaning what? You're casting out sins, cleansing your temple of sins. Now you're building your temple up with what? With the law, statutes, and commandments. You know, you're girding up your legs, putting on Ephesians, putting on what? Your fringes, Numbers 15 and 38. Brothers building up houses even with their beards. Getting all that gunk out of our system. Pork, shrimp, crab, lobster. Taking these things out of our temple, man. That's how we literally cleanse our temple. And building up as lively stones. Read on.
Are built up a spiritual house.
A what?
A spiritual house.
Read on up.
Of holy priesthood.
And holy priesthood. Read on up.
To offer up spiritual sacrifice.
So we're building up a spiritual temple to do what? Offer up spiritual sacrifice. Us going out to those corners, us putting the work in this truth, that is a spiritual sacrifice in this thing. Read on.
Spiritual sacrifice acceptable to God by Yahushua.
And that's the key. We want to offer these things up to be acceptable to the Most High God. A lot of times, brothers and sisters, knowing you in the truth, but you're not being acceptable to the Most High God. You're doing it to just do what? Go through the motions. No, we want to do these things to, guess what? To the acceptability of the Most High God, man. And we know His level. We know those things. That's what something that brothers and sisters need to constantly be trying to strive for. Let's go back to First Maccabees chapter 4 and verse 47.
Book of First Maccabees, chapter 4, verse 47. Then they took whole stones according to the law and built a new altar according to the former.
So they had to tear down that old altar, man. And guess what? Built up a new altar, man. Read on up.
And made up the sanctuary
Uh-huh.
and the things that were within the temple.
Uh-huh.
And hollowed the court.
And did what?
And hollowed the court.
Read on up.
They made also new holy vessels.
Read on up.
And into the temple they brought the candlestick.
We know that the candlestick is a representation of what? Of Yahweh being as a light to the temple, going into what? Us always putting on the commandments.
Right.
Read on.
And the altar of burnt offering.
The altar of burnt offerings is as a symbol for Christ as well. For him, what? Being the ultimate sacrifice to atone for all of our sins, man. We needed that, man. I don't understand how Old Testament Israelites don't understand that, man. Like you're saying, knowing brothers still probably in sin, man. So how you repent? Are you gonna go and get a turtle dove? Like we always say, brothers probably ain't never even seen a turtle dove. Read on.
And of incense.
Uh-huh.
And the table.
And the table, going into what? The table of showbread. We knowing that Christ's body is what? The bread. Let's get there right quick. Give me. Read that out.
I'm the bread. Christ said, I'm the bread of life.
We'll just go straight to the point. Verses. Verse, John chapter 6 and verse 54. And we'll jump back up. John chapter 6 and verse 54.
The book of St. John, chapter 6, verse 54.
Uh-huh.
Whoso eateth my flesh and drinketh my blood hath eternal life.
Had what?
Hath eternal life.
Read on up.
And I will raise him up at the last day.
Read on up.
For my flesh is meat indeed.
It is what up?
For my flesh is meat indeed.
Meaning what? The deeper understanding of the scriptures. Read on up.
And my blood is drink indeed.
Now jump up to verse 48.
Verse 48. I am that bread of life.
Read that again up.
I am that bread of life.
Even as a representation of the table of showbread is going into what? Going into Christ. It's literally saying that he is what? He is that bread of life. Read on.
Your fathers did eat manna in the wilderness and are dead.
And what?
And are dead.
Read on up.
This is the bread which cometh down from heaven, that a man may eat thereof and not die.
This is the point. Read on.
I am the living bread.
Christ is letting us know plainly that he is that living bread. That's why we understand John 1 verse 1, meaning what? Christ is the word made flesh. Meaning what? When we take the scriptures and eat and read of him, he's giving us more understanding. He's giving us deeper understanding of, especially going into his parables and so forth. Read on up.
I am the living bread which came down from heaven. If any man eat of this bread, he shall live forever.
He shall what up?
He shall live forever.
Read on up.
And the bread that I will give is my flesh.
Is this what up?
Is my flesh.
Read on.
Which I will give for the life of the world.
That world is making reference to who?
Israel.
Israel. Without a shadow of a doubt, man. Isaiah 45 and 17 and John chapter 18 verse 20, many various precepts, man. Let's go back to First Maccabees chapter 4 and verse 49 again. No, 50.
The book of First Maccabees, chapter 4, verse 50. And upon the altar they burnt incense, and the lamps that were upon the candlestick they lighted, that they might give light in the temple.
That they might do what up?
That they may give light in the temple.
What brother remember those precepts? The candlestick continually burning in the temple.
Number 7:1.
Let's get
What?
Exodus. Give me Exodus 25 and 31. Yeah. Leviticus what up?
24.
24. Where you at? Yeah, give me that Leviticus. I know I said Exodus. Let me get straight to the point. Leviticus chapter 24. Y'all can keep Exodus though 25 and verse 31, showing you how they made the manure. But we just want to get straight to the point in Leviticus chapter 24.
The book of Leviticus, chapter 24, verse 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, command the children of Israel that they bring unto thee pure oil, olive, beaten for the light.
Beaten for the what?
Beaten for the light.
So they can turn that oil basically into candles, so they'll be able to what? Have the candlesticks burning on the manure continually. Read on.
To cause the lamps to burn continually.
And that's the point. Like I said, you want to make sure that, guess what? Like I say, our body is a representation of what? Of the candlesticks. On those candlesticks, you should be doing what? Putting your light. So your what? So your light can shine. Let's literally break it down. Give me Proverbs. Who got the precept in Proverbs?
Light.
For a candlestick. Precepts. Give me these are precepts that brothers must know too. Proverbs chapter 20 and verse 27.
Book of Proverbs, chapter 20, verse 27. The spirit of man is the candle of the Lord.
Read that again.
The spirit of man is the candle of the Lord.
It's literally saying it plain. The spirit of man is the candle of the Lord. So like we say, we take that candle, our spirit, and then we do what? Put the light, which is the commandments, on our spirit. So the Most High God is literally breaking this thing down, man. Read on up.
Searching all the inward parts of the belly.
Is searching, meaning what? If you're putting your light on there, the things that your belly takes in, the light will let it know if it's right or wrong. Your belly is making reference to what, brothers? Your mind. Your mind. The things that you eat, you take into your spirit. Meaning what? Our people eat sin up like it's nothing. What put checks and balances on those things? Us keeping the law. What's the precept for light, Ezra? Oh, praise. Let's go back to First Maccabees.
Let's get some more on that instant and that light right quick.
Let's
Let's go to Exodus chapter 30 and verse 7. Going into the same thing with opposite. That's the reason why a lot of the nations, they knew that we kept our temples, we kept the incense burning, we had the manure burning. They already knew that about us. We had our showbread. That's why when they came in, they know that when they went in our temple, immediately they started taking away those things and started burning those things down because they knew this was a part of our heritage, right? Exodus chapter 30 and verse 7.
The book of Exodus, chapter 30, verse 7. And Aaron shall burn thereon sweet incense every morning.
Every morning, read.
When he dresseth the lamp,
Uh-huh.
he shall burn incense upon it.
Read.
And when Aaron lighteth the lamps at evening,
Even in that evening, read.
he shall burn incense upon it. A perpetual incense.
Hey, what?
A perpetual incense.
This was a perpetual thing that they did. Lighting the incense, lighting the manures, lighting the candles. These are the things that we did, man, right? Read.
Before the Lord throughout your generation.
So guess what, man? Throughout our generation, this was a forever ordinance that they were supposed to do. So like when we go in there and we read Maccabees, let's jump over to Maccabees chapter 1. So we read Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 21. That's when the Antiochus went inside our temple right here, showing us what they did. Verse 21, right quick.
The book of First Maccabees, chapter 1, verse 21. And entered proudly into the sanctuary, and took away the golden altar.
See, here you go. They went into the sanctuary proudly, right? Because they incense they give them to their God. Let's take away that from them proudly, right? Read.
And took away the golden altar, and the candlestick of light,
and the candlestick of light. Read.
And all the vessels thereof,
read.
And the table of showbread, and the pouring vessels, and the vials, and the censers of gold, and the veil, and the crowns, and the golden ornaments that were before the temple, all which he pulled off.
He pulled off. He took them off, man. Read.
Verse 23. He took also the silver and the gold and the precious vessels. Also, he took the hidden treasures which he found.
So guess what, man? Why you think the Maccabees were fighting so hard, man? They went in our temple, man. They destroyed our temple, and they defiled our temple. They took everything out, and they changed it over to how they wanted to do it. The same way that they do it spiritually. The same way they doing now. Guess what? They defiling us with everything that they can defile us with. They taking every ounce of stuff that we got that the Most High God bless us with, and this is what they doing right now on the spiritual aspect, man. Go ahead, huh?
That's right. Let's go back to First Maccabees chapter 4 and verse 50 again.
Book of First Maccabees, chapter 4, verse 50. And upon the altars they burnt incense, and the lamps that were upon the candlestick they lighted, that they might give light in the temple.
Read on out.
Furthermore, they set the loaves upon the table, and spread out the veil, and finished all the works which they had begun to make.
Meaning the veil between the most holy to divide from the most holy. Read on.
Now on the 25th day of the 9th month, which is called the month of Caslu, in the 148th year, they rose up betimes in the morning.
And that's what we're going into on the 25th day of the 9th month, which is called the month Caslu. Read on.
And offered sacrifice according to the law.
According to the what?
According to the law.
Read on up.
Upon the new altar of burnt offering, which they had made. Look at what time and what day the heathen had profaned it. Even in that was it dedicated with songs and with cisterns and harps and cymbals.
Read on up.
Then all the people fell upon their faces, worshiping and praising the God of heaven, who had given them good success.
And that's what we must do even right now by partaking into these things. Give it up prayers and all honors to the Most High God for allowing us to, guess what? Come back and literally set up the Feast of Dedication as it is written in the scriptures. You know, most importantly, making sure brothers and sisters are in the right spirit when they partake in this, man. That's the most part, man. Like we say, brothers being spiritual watchers for brothers and sisters. Like we say, we always gonna have a good time amongst one another. But guess what? You always lap like a dog or like a lion. Meaning what? Eyes on the swivel. Meaning watching out. Because like we say, this our job as men to be what? Protectors and providers. Those things don't stop when we're having a good time.
Right.
You know, they don't stop. So brothers have to understand this on helping brothers set things up, even with the sisters, helping one another set things up as well. Because sisters have a very important role. You have some sisters putting their brick and not having other sisters. Yeah, we all want to kick back and do nothing. We glory for that day we have Esau. We just sit back, literally kicking up our feet, sipping lemonade. But it's not here yet. So we literally have to do these things ourselves till that day come, man. Read on up.
Verse 56. And so they kept the dedication of the altar 8 days.
8 what?
8 days.
Read on up.
And offered burnt offerings with gladness, and sacrificed the sacrifice of deliverance and praise.
Jump over to 2 Maccabees chapter 2. So we see that they kept it 8 days as well. Let's see who else. 2 Maccabees chapter 2 and verse 8. Like I say, going into secrets and mysteries. A lot of times people, let's say, we see where King Solomon, with all his wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, of course he was celebrating the dedication. Read this out.
The book of 2 Maccabees, chapter 2, verse 8. Then shall the Lord show them these things, and the glory of the Lord shall appear, and the cloud also as it was showed under Moses.
And the cloud also. Who was in that cloud? Christ. Read on.
And as when Solomon desired that the place might be honorably sanctified.
And as when Solomon desired that the place might be honorably sanctified, or what? Dedicated. Remember, that's another word for dedication. You have dedicated, sanctified, and you have consecrate. Read on up.
It was also declared that he, being wise, offered the sacrifice of dedication.
Of what up?
The sacrifice of dedication.
He offered the sacrifice of dedication. Read on.
And of the finishing of the temple.
Because the thing is, they always dedicated the temple to the Most High God. Whenever those things were set up, remember, it's giving all honor and praises to the Most High God. Read on up.
And as when Moses prayed unto the Lord, the fire came down from heaven and consumed the sacrifice. Even so prayed Solomon also, And the fire came down from heaven and consumed the burnt offering.
So the Most High, it's as a symbol of the Most High God is appreciated with that sacrifice. Read on up.
And Moses said, because the sin offering was not to be eaten,
Uh-huh.
it was consumed.
It was what up?
It was consumed.
Read on up.
So Solomon kept those 8 days.
Read that again up.
So Solomon kept those 8 days.
Just like how we just read in what? First Maccabees chapter 4 and verse 56. And Solomon kept those 8 days. What was he keeping 8 days? The feast of the dedication. So we seeing not only was he doing it, but even like how we went into it earlier with Moses. Read on up.
The same things also were reported in the writings and commentaries of Nehemiah.
Like how we read in Nehemiah what?
12 and 27.
12 and 27. All praises. Read on up.
Of Nehemiah, and how he founded a library and gathered together the acts of the kings and the prophets and of David and the epistles of the kings concerning the holy gift.
Read on up.
In like manner also Judas gathered together all those things.
In like manner also, meaning what? Judas was following the the guidelines of his forefathers, man. As we should be doing this day, man. Read on.
Judas gathered together all those things that were lost by reason of the war
Uh-huh.
we had.
And read verse 11 again. Oh, okay, you didn't finish that.
14.
No, yeah, read 14 from the top. I cut you off too soon. Read 14 from the top. Out.
In like manner also Judas gathered together all those things that were lost by reason of the war we had, and they remained with us.
And they remain with us. Go back to First Maccabees. Keep going. Read on.
Verse 15. Wherefore, if ye have need thereof, send some to fetch them unto you.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas we then are about to celebrate the purification.
What we're about to do?
Celebrate the purification.
We're about to celebrate the purification of us redeeming ourselves back into the dedicating ourselves to the Lord. Read on.
That's right.
We have written unto you,
Uh-huh.
and you shall do well.
You should do what?
And ye shall do
Read
well
on.
if ye keep the same days.
If you keep the same days, man, the same days that Solomon was keeping, the same days that Judas Maccabees were keeping. We'll read on, man. We got a little moment.
Verse 17. We hope also that the God that delivered all his people
Uh-huh.
and gave them all inheritance
Uh-huh.
in the kingdom, in the priesthood,
Uh-huh.
and the sanctuary,
And the sanctuary. The God that gave us the sanctuary. Read on.
as he promised in the law,
Uh-huh.
will shortly have mercy upon us.
And these are reasons that we're keeping these things and celebrating these things, that he will surely and surely come back and have mercy upon us for trying to keep his holy days, right?
That's right.
Read on.
And gather us together.
And do what?
And gather us
And
together.
that's what it's about, gathering us together. That's why we come together. Holy convocation in these days, to gather together. Read on.
Out of every land
Uh-huh.
under heaven into the holy place.
Read on.
For he had delivered us out of great trouble.
He had what?
He had delivered us out of great trouble
Uh-huh.
and hath purified the place.
So you think the Most High ain't purified this place and we ain't gonna try to purify it?
That's right.
He purified this thing for us so that we can come and try to purify it ourselves. We know that Christ is that example that we have to go back into. The scripture tells us to redeem the times, remember the times. We see that we have to purify this as the Lord purified it for us. Read 19 and 20.
Verse 19. Now it's concerning Judas Maccabees and his brethren
Uh-huh.
and the purification of the great temple.
So what was Judas Maccabees and his brothers up doing to purify the dedication? What were they doing? Fighting.
That's right.
Battle. Right? Fighting that old man and that old woman. Fighting, trying to come up out of these ways of the world and come back into our laws. It said this is how they were dedicating themselves, right? Read on.
And the dedication of the altar
Uh-huh.
and the wars against Antiochus Epiphanes and Eupator,
His son. Read 21, that's it, my bad.
Verse 21. And the manifest signs that came from heaven unto those that behave themselves
They
manfully.
behave themselves what?
Manfully.
That's another precept of manfully, brother.
That's right.
I was trying to go there too, I forgot. I would definitely want to come back. That's another precept of manfully. Read that again.
Unto those that behave themselves manfully
Uh-huh.
to their honor for Judaism,
Read on.
so that being but a few,
Uh-huh.
they overcame the whole country and chased Barabbas, multitudes,
Barbarous.
barbarous,
Yeah,
yes,
barbarous.
like,
Meaning tough. You know what I'm saying? Like barbarous
Exactly.
multitudes.
Short word for barbarian.
Barbarians, that's right. So this is what we have to do. These are things showing, like Judas Maccabees stood up manfully to purification. We have to stand up manfully, brothers and sisters, as well. Sisters, stand up, gird up your loins, gird up your skirts, right?
That's right.
Cheers and gird up some pamphlets, like we said. Go ahead.
Let's go back to 1 Maccabees chapter 5, verse 56. Yeah, 56 again.
4 and 56.
Yeah, 4 and 56. It's a lot. I would say this is always a good read, man, and brothers and sisters. Like I said, this is our history. You want to know what your forefathers did in their times. You know, of distress and trials and anguish. You know, because like we always say, history is going to repeat itself. You don't think this ain't going to happen again? Read this up.
The book of 1 Maccabees, chapter 4, verse 56.
Uh-huh.
And so they kept the dedication of the altar 8 days.
Like Moses, like Solomon, read on.
And offered burnt offerings with gladness. And sacrifice of deliverance and praise.
Uh-huh.
They decked also the forefront of the temple with crowns of gold.
Read on up.
And with shields.
So you know, I'm saying, sister be in the spirit to guess what? Decorate the building. You know, transform it to somewhat, to give brothers somewhat of a vision of, on a lower level, we understand these things of how the kingdom and how we were supposed to really live in, man. Read on up.
And the gates and the chambers they renewed.
Uh-huh.
And hanged doors upon them.
Read on up.
Thus was there very great gladness among the people, for that the reproach of the heathen was put away.
Uh-huh.
Moreover, Judas and his brethren, with the whole congregation of Israel, ordained that the days of the dedication of the altar should be kept in their season from year to year.
From what up?
From year to year.
Read on up.
By the space of 8 days, from the 25th day of the month Caslu, with mirth and gladness.
With what up?
With mirth and gladness.
With mirth and gladness. And with that, we say shalom. Happy Feast of Dedication. Like we say, like, share the videos. Hope brothers and sisters were edified. Help us push this truth, brothers and sisters, you know, to the four corners of the earth. You know, share these things with brothers and sisters that may be on your Facebook page, you know, that's trying to awaken. You know, that may be that extra push that brothers and sisters need. You know, we always say if any brothers got any concerns, always reach out to leadership. You know, I know I was trying to look to see if there were any comments or questions on the field. I know we try to get to them. But like I say, we want to make sure brothers and sisters stay in the spirit and keep the Feast of Dedication. I know we'll go back to that 2 Maccabees and read this as a law. 2 Maccabees chapter 2 and verse 16 again. Point that Ak was making. And so you want to make sure brothers and sisters staying in the spirit, having a good time, making sure you're in the spirit of the dedication. Not that overly drinking. Yes, we will have those strong drink there. But remember why we're doing these things. When you're doing it to just fill your belly with strong drink and just forget about the Lord's doing. You know, we're doing it to have a good time and to be merry amongst brothers and sisters, worshiping in the purification of the temple of our bodies. Trying to make it to the kingdom, brothers and sisters, man. We can never lose sight of that, man. You get there, read this out.
The book of 2 Maccabees, chapter 2, verse 16. Whereas we then are about to celebrate the purification, we have written unto you, and ye shall do well.
And ye shall do what?
And ye shall do well.
Read on now.
If ye keep the same day.
Brothers and sisters, you do well if you keep the Feast of Dedication. Stop putting on excuses saying you can't keep these things. You can keep these things, brothers and sisters. We know we don't have counts everywhere. So do the best that you can if you're not able to make it down, brothers and sisters, man. With that, say give all honor and praises to the Most High and to His Son, Yahweh Shah.